Hello and welcome. We're back with edition number 14 of the old Sodcast. Two old sods talking about music. Jason's decided to do his fish face for some reason.
14, mate. 14 episodes of this.
Yeah, technically it's like 15 because we had to split one in half, but I always call that, I think it was 11 and 11.5. But anyway, in the chat, we've got Gary Donnelly, evening Gary, Craig Bell, hiya Craig, and Jonathan Ring with a spanner next to his name, or a wrench, as people call it in America. That means, Jonathan, if anyone's misbehaving in the chat, that means you've got powers to kick them out, I believe. It's trying to create a clickbait YouTube thumbnail. I hate that. I hate it so much. Bloody Lee and Abby do it too often. Flaming Ryan Milky, bloody hell. Like, oh, God, stop it, please, people. Sonny Beardo, even he's done it before. It's like, just don't. Please don't. It's such a cliche. And every time, 100 times out of 100, you look effing gormless. You don't. It doesn't look cool. It doesn't look like you're surprised by somebody going, "Wow."
No. I know what you mean.
It just looks like you're sucking an invisible. Well, anyway. I wasn't planning on doing that rant this evening, but it had to be said at some point.
It's all right, mate. Get out of your system, you know.
Anyway, hi, Jason. How are you?
Yeah, no, I'm good, mate. Good, yeah. Having a bad weekend this weekend. There's things are on the up, I think.
Oh, good. Okay, you got anything planned for the Not Suitable for Mum channel this week?
Yeah, get back into it this week. I'm gonna do my usual bits of stuff with the records and all the rest of it, and a few bits and bobs that I've got. I've not been spending a massive amount of money, but the odd bit here and there. And I'm going to try and get back into doing the gaming again because I know a lot of people enjoyed that. So yeah, I think that's it. But yeah, music related is mainly going to be more showcasing at the moment until I get some more stuff.
That's fair enough. Yeah. So yeah, I had a good week on YouTube. This week things are a little different, not a lot, but I've decided that I'm going to have really 2 videos a week rather than 3 now. They might they will, or they might still be 3 or even 4 a week from time to time. But like any extra ones, a 3rd or a 4th, it'll be something impromptu. It could be maybe a contest entry or just a little nugget of an idea that I've had that I can put out pretty quickly. But sort of my normal regular content. Whereas before it was Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays. Now it's going to be Mondays and Thursdays, just because I think that's, it's plenty, and I don't want to burn out and put too much of the same sort of thing out too often.
Yeah.
Arguably, I've done that an awful lot, but but that is just a minor change. I've got at least 2 videos a week scheduled now till well into probably the end of March. And beyond for certain other videos as well. So tomorrow I've got it's Records Roundup number 61. And on Thursday, it's a documentary review. And I won't give any more away, but it's a documentary that I said years ago on the channel, I need to review it, and I'm going to review it one day. And it has literally taken me the best part of 3 years to get around to watching it again and then reviewing it.
I was sure it'd be worth the wait, mate.
It was worth it for me. I mean, it's nothing to do with music, this documentary, by the way. I know some of them have been, like the last one I did, I think was music related. Milli Vanilli, that was the last one. This one,
I did enjoy that.
Yeah, this one, nothing to do with music, but it's an important documentary to me, and I've just been itching to review it, but I had to watch it all again, and it's a long series. But that's all I'll say about it. And then next week, I might as well talk about next week while I'm here. Monday is edition number 2 of Mini Disc Monday. That's a week on Monday. And then a week on Thursday will be another in my Irresistible Smule series. And then the following Sunday, we should be, unless Jason's going to tell me he's buggering off, it should be the next old Sodcast in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I don't think I've got anything planned that I know of.
Well, if we have to postpone it for a week or a fortnight or whatever, I'll leave information in the community tab on my YouTube channel. So just keep half an eye on my community tab, because occasionally I have to do channel announcements on there. Just having a look at the chat before I go any further. Turn it into an agony ant stream if you're not careful. Yeah. Hi, Alex. Nice to see you. Thank you for coming in. Gary's going on about Red Nose Day on 15th of March. That's well, it's later on in the month.
Yeah.
And it's also World Book Day. Okay. So I have actually already started planning the next old Sodcast, and Jason, I didn't have time to tell you what I'd planned.
All right, okay, yeah.
Put it this way, Jonathan knows what I've planned because he's having to help me with it, so that should give you a clue as to what we're doing again.
Okay.
No, he ain't got a clue, has he? Right.
No. I've not heard anything on that, so okay. All right, I'm just looking at the chat as well myself, just making sure. Yeah, just saw Alice is in.
Yeah, thank you for coming in, Alice. So I suppose nothing in the way of you having listened to much this past week or two, then, Jason. Nothing to report music-wise.
Mainly listening to what we're covering tonight. Actually, it was just nice to recap on the albums and
good idea.
Stuff that I haven't perhaps listened to for a little while. So yeah, no, it's nice just to sit there and for a good sort of couple of hours just taking it all in. Yeah.
Yeah. And on that note, it's probably a good place for us to start today's discussion. So we're gonna have a nice simple discussion. We don't know how long it's gonna go. We're hoping we're gonna have a special guest join us maybe around 20 or so minutes if what he said to me. I've given a clue already. I've given his gender away, so that's narrowed it down by no. Do you know any women, Jason? I don't know many.
Well, I know a few, but they wouldn't come on here, mate.
I don't know how to take that, really. If the friends are yours, perhaps that's a good thing. But anyway, we're hoping to around the 8:30 mark to have a very special guest with us. Someone who I'd like us, if he's available, to join us for old Sodcast moving forward, as he is a veritable font of knowledge and a big music fan. But we'll leave our surprise guest if he turns up, and I don't see why he wouldn't, because he told me he would. Till in about just over 20 minutes' time, hopefully, or thereabouts.
Good.
In the meantime, we'll get cracking with what we've planned today, and we're going to be talking about, Jason and I, three favourite music spin-offs. So when I say music spin-offs, what I mean is trying to think of an example that neither me or Jason will be using. Would you say that Wings was a spin-off of the Beatles?
Yes, in a manner of speaking.
Yeah, I'd say so. So a band, or I don't really tend to consider solo artists as being spin-offs from their own band, but I said to Jason ages ago when we were first talking about this, because this is an idea that we've had to delay for numerous reasons. I said to him, look, if you want to use solo artists, that's absolutely fine. I'm not personally, but that's okay. So a band, an act that has formed, but the more familiar maybe, or more famous from their original band. There we go. I've probably explained that really crap.
I think people will get the gist of it.
Yeah. Also known as, I think it might be more of an American term, satellite acts is a term I've heard before.
Like okay.
Looks like Jason's not really heard that one before. But yeah, spin-offs, I think, is the accepted term here in the UK anyway. So Jason's picked three of his favourites, or maybe his top three, I'm not sure. I've picked what I think is my top three, arguably, and maybe I'll chop and change a little bit, depending on what sort of mood I'm in. And Jason, I'm going to let you have first go. You
Right,
can
okay.
talk to us about your first of your favourite music spin-offs, please.
Okay, right. Well, I've made some notes, so I'm trying to not going to do
That's
it.
more than what I've done, mate. I'm having to literally wing it tonight.
Yeah, I need to because the old brain and that, don't remember all the facts and figures like Jimmy does. Anyway, right, this first one that I've got is kind of a spin-off from a band called Terrorvision. Some of you may remember them, right? They were from Bradford, pretty big between 93 and 2001. And they had 13 top 40 singles and 3 top 40 albums. Probably the main one that people are going to remember is, and I know it's nothing to do with the Champs, but it was the Mint Royale remix of Tequila. I don't know if any remember that one at all.
I certainly do. Yeah, I had that was the one Terrorvision single I owned.
Yeah. Oh, you actually own it. That's cool. Yeah.
I did. Yeah, I bought that. Yeah, on CD.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, it's not really a true representation of who they are. But anyway, that's going off on another tangent.
That's fine.
Anyway, yeah. So they're basically up to 2001, right? And they basically EMI dropped them after that, and they split up. They are still going, right? Even though they were supposed to split up, they got back together again. I saw what was supposed to be their last gig. But yeah, I think by 2005, 2006, they were going again, and they're still going to this day. Anyway, I'll show you the record, and this is featuring the bass player, Lee Marklew. I don't know how well people are going to be able to see that. I'll have to
I can make you big.
Right? So I don't know if you can see that. It's Malibu Stacy and On Heat. Now, there is another band called this, which I discovered from Belgium, but they are in no way connected in any way, shape, or form. So this one, let's say, this consists of the bass player, which was Lee Marklew. It's got, and I'll try to find out a few bits and pieces about the guys involved, but I wasn't that successful. But the vocals, you've got a guy called Johnny Wilson, I believe. Yeah, Johnny Wilson. You've got Kes Loy on guitars, and he was actually in the band called Leaf Eater, which did okay. They weren't majorly successful, but they apparently they did do a John Peel session, which I wasn't aware of. So I must see if I can find that one. And then on drums, you've got Chris Boosie, and he, funnily enough, is Terrorvision's current drummer. Which again I only found out yesterday. So anyway, onto the album itself. They only released one single, which was Invasion. One album, which was On Heat, which I've shown you, and they're a little bit different from Terrorvision. You got some similarities, but they've sort of got they're a bit of a throwback band, I would call them. You've got elements of rock itself, obviously, rock and metal. You've got a bit of glam rock in there, maybe even a little bit of punk. The way the guy sort of sings and stuff, it's semi-talking, semi-singing. Reminded me a little bit of Johnny Rotten in the way that his delivery. It's a different voice, obviously, but it's that kind of delivery. I'll just see what else I've put here. So yeah, and several of the tracks, and I don't like to give this guy any hype because of what he's done. But if you remember the Glitter Band, right?
Yeah.
And the Sweet stuff like Blockbusters, you know what I mean by foot stomping. You want to sort of bounce about like a loon a little bit, and just clump your feet on the floor. So yeah, they are different. You can hear Lee's bass in there quite distinctively, right? Certainly I do anyway, because of being a fan of Terrorvision. I notice the similarities. And yeah, it's they're not a bad band. I'm not sure the album's aged particularly well. I mean, it came out over 20 years ago now, believe it or not.
I was just about to ask what year was it released.
Yeah, so I should have said 2004 if I remember.
You might. I wasn't sure if you had mentioned it, but I didn't clock it. So 2004, right?
Yeah, 2004. So I mean,
just to remind people who might be coming in late, just hi Simon, nice to see you there, Vinyl Dale. What they called Malibu Stacy, is it?
Malibu Stacy, yeah. So
I know where they got that name from. That's from The Simpsons, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. I think it's sort of they're a little bit tongue in cheek. So I think that's sort of probably why they went for that sort of name. But it works. It works. So yeah, really, not an awful lot to talk about because they didn't really do very much. I think they went on tour for a little while, did a few gigs, but I don't think they were massively successful. I did have a actually look at where I don't think the album got anywhere, but Invasion got to number 85 in the top 100 UK singles chart, and I think it was number 15 on the rock chart. So they did all right, if not amazing. So really that's it for that on them. What I have done, and I've done this for each of them, I've picked out my 3 favourite singles, or
go for it.
Say singles, songs, but not necessarily singles, but songs. So Grade A Fellini, that's not bad. That's they sound a little bit almost juvenile in some respects when you listen to them because of the way they sound, but that's quite a good song. And then you've got Summertime, which is quite good, and my favourite, which is called Horses, and it's got obviously I can't do it or sing it, and I'm not even going to try, but they've got a very nice little riff that sort of underpins the whole tune, and works really, really well, and yeah, excuse me, that's probably my favourite of that. So yeah, they were a short-lived band. They were only around for a few years, but it's something nice. If you Jimmy, you know this, right? If you're a completist of a band, then you follow what the other musicians go off and do.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Then they come back and they get the main band back on track. But you're always sort of like interested in what other projects they've got going. So yeah, an old album, but it's quite a fun sort of little rock, almost rock anthems band, if that makes sense. So yeah, good fun.
Yeah, Malibu Stacy, and obviously I know where they got the name from, but I didn't actually know that there was a group, there was a band called Malibu Stacy.
Wow, 2 of them now.
So yeah, a Terrorvision spin-off, Malibu Stacy. So if you don't know, then you don't know, Jason. I just wondered. You said they've only released the one album throughout.
Yeah.
So is it? Do you know if there's any particular reason why there's not been a follow-up, or is it just they couldn't be bothered, or Terrorvision were back together, or what?
I think probably because Terrorvision were back together. I think possibly it was the lack of mainstream success as well. Probably didn't help because if you think about it, Terrorvision, as I said, Terrorvision were big for quite a while. I mean, they were playing stadiums and they supported a lot of massive bands. They did festivals, all the rest of it, and I think perhaps it just didn't go the way that they wanted it to. I do know that Kess is now doing stuff for films and television commercials and stuff. So that's his sort of focus. I think the drummer does, although he does speaks with television, I think he also does teaching as well. I think they just, they gave it a go. It didn't work out as they wanted, and that was it. It was just something fun they wanted to try. Yeah. I mean, I might, if I did a bit more research, I might be able to find out why they didn't do any more. But there's not an awful lot of information on the net about them. I sort of a lot of it I had to go from memory. So yeah, but it'd be interesting to know. And you never know, they may do something again in the future. It does happen.
Yeah, I mean, 2004. I was going to say it was only 20 years ago. I mean, it is a long time, but those of us of a certain age know that, it kind of, the last 20 years kind of went by in the blink of an eye, really.
It did indeed.
So, yeah, never say never, I think, is Jason's message for... I keep wanting to call them Mint Royale, because you mentioned about the Mint Royale. Malibu Stacy, which I think, if you're a Simpsons fan, it's a good name for a band, that.
Yeah, but I say, I think it fits their style as well. So, yeah.
Okay. So, anything else you want to mention about Malibu Stacy before we move on, Jace?
The only thing I didn't mention is that Mark's a very, very big Kiss fan, and I think that comes across in the music as well. So, like I said, you got that glam rock feel to it. But yeah, I think that's about it. I think that's the only detail I missed off.
Okay. Right.
Well, I'm still doing your bit. I shall go into chat now and have a look and see what people are saying.
Well, yeah, you didn't really need to actually announce you were doing that, Jason.
Sorry.
but thank you for doing it anyway. So yeah, that's Malibu Stacy. I'll be checking them out. I urge anyone else who might be interested in anything sort of Terrorvision related to do the same if you haven't already. But I suppose it's time for my first pick. We've got 3 picks each tonight, by the way. I can't remember if I mentioned that earlier. These aren't in any order, although, I think this is probably my favourite out of them all, I think. So let's just show you a bit of a clip, and then I'll start talking about them. However, I love kids clip. So that, of course, is electronic, and you can say that they're a spin-off from 2 massive bands.
Yes.
In the 1980s, of course. Bernard Sumner, the singer, guitarist, keyboardist from Electronic, had the same roles in New Order, and it was also in Joy Division before that. But so you could technically say, I suppose, Joy Division were a spin-off. New Order were a spin-off from Joy Division, but I consider them, kind of the same group, really. But I won't get bogged down in semantics. But of course, Bernard Sumner, and then on guitars, and I think he did play keyboards as well for Electronic, was, of course, the Smiths legend, Johnny Marr.
Yes.
So this was an early, maybe the first example of a super duo rather than a super group. Although you could technically call them a super group because their first album, the self-titled album, and I'll touch upon that a bit more in a moment. A couple of tracks were helped out by the Pet Shop Boys, and then the second album, Raise the Pressure. Most of that was produced and also played on by Karl Bartos, who was a member of Kraftwerk.
Oh yes.
And then the third album, Twisted Tenderness. I always forget the names of these guys, but I know 1 or 2 of them who played on Twisted Tenderness. Were in Doves, aka Sub. Yeah. So they've had sort of collaborators throughout, but the core duo, the super duo, is Bernard Sumner and Johnny Marr. Yeah. So I think they originally got together. It would have been, I think, probably straight after the Smiths split up in, what was that, early 87. And I remember reading in a New Order book that I'd had for years. They were working on one track in particular that did eventually make it to the debut Electronic album, but they didn't record anything together properly for at least a couple of years after their initial sort of, let's team up and do something. Because, of course, New Order came off a bit of a hiatus, and then they recorded Technique and then World in Motion. So that kind of slowed things down for Electronic. But Electronic did eventually hit the charts it was 1989. Or was it early 90? It was one or the other. I'm sorry.
About that sort of time anyway, yeah.
With, of course, Getting Away With It, which you saw a tiny clip of at the start there. That featured Neil Tennant of the Pet Shop Boys. Don't think Chris Lowe had anything to do with that track, but Chris Lowe definitely featured on Patience of a Saint, which was another track off the debut self-titled album. So the album didn't come along till 1991, by which time they'd also released a second single, which didn't feature the Pet Shop Boys or anyone else, called Get the Message. Initial copies of the album didn't feature Getting Away With It, but subsequent reissues do feature it. And it, I think, remains their most successful single, Getting Away With It. A lot of people say, I've seen like quite sort of well-known, kind of like radio DJs and, kind of respected pundits and stuff say Getting Away With It was the last great single of the 80s. It was either that or they said it was the first great single of the 90s. Because, like I say, I can never remember if it was the very end of 89 or the very start of 90. But I do know people have said, Getting Away With It, it's such a good pop song. The best, it was like, one of the best for that era, really. I've got the album. I've talked about that album. I feel like I've talked about it on the Sodcast before, but I've certainly talked about it elsewhere. One of my all-time favorite albums. It's an absolute banger as far as I'm concerned. And I'm going to stop myself. I'm going to interrupt myself now because I'm able to bring our special mystery guest in. So will you please welcome from his excellent channel, Ranking the Obscure, it's Ian. Hi, Ian.
Yeah. Hi, Ian.
Thanks for joining us, mate.
Yeah. I thought I'd come in. Now, you chat your spin-offs. Now, I've been through my record collection. So.
You actually did a bit of homework for me. Okay, thank you.
I suppose I've got sort of spin-offs, but there's some odd couplings together from people from bands, big bands, have made an album or two together.
Ah, right, okay. So a bit like, I suppose, I don't know if you heard much of what I was saying before you came on, but with like Electronic spun off from both New Order and the Smiths. So is it a bit like that, where like you get one?
It's like that.
Yeah.
Now the one that I can't find, and I got when Brian May did the Brian May project with Starfleet, and he got together with Eddie Van Halen.
Right.
So that's sort of They had a lot of fun. They did an EP with 3 tracks, and they had a lot of fun with it. It was for a TV program back in the 80s.
I can't say I'm familiar with it.
I've got it somewhere.
Is that all they did together then? One EP?
One EP. Then there's Ronnie James Dio. He did like the metal version of like Live Band-Aid called Stars. I've got that somewhere as well. But I have got a few bits to show you. Okay.
Well, do you want to show them now, or do you want to sort of space them out? It's entirely up to you. I honestly don't mind if you want to show them all now, or show some and then some.
I want to show one now. I've been to a record fair today.
Okay. Well, I'll make you big.
I'll pick this up. A 12-inch single.
Oh, Spark. Number one song in heaven. Yeah.
Yes. But
nice.
It's not. Take it out.
Oh, nice.
Oh, it's on red. Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Yeah, stands out.
It does, yeah. And, this is from, 1979?
All right, okay.
Yeah, I've got a few other bits, which I'll not diverse now. That's for another day, but yeah. I've got some. I'll show you 12-inch singles first that I've got live prints. About electronic music, we had one of the greatest guitarists of the 50s meet up with the Art of Noise, and they recorded, of course, Peter Gunn.
Now I watched yours and Richard's instrumentals video today, and you mentioned the original Dwayne Eddy version, didn't you? That was one of it was your pick, not Richard's, I think.
Yeah, it was my pick. Yeah,
I've got the Art of Noise version.
Yeah, that's that one, Jason.
It is that one. All right.
Yeah, that's just the biggest twang. I think Anne Dudley says the biggest twang of them all was to Dwayne Eddy. What an interesting combination, but it worked. I think I've got 2 copies of this. They did 2 versions of it.
Yeah, I think that's different from the one I've got. Different colour. Yeah. That's why I didn't recognise it.
Remember this odd setup?
Yes.
Yeah.
Max Headroom and the Art of Noise.
Nice.
Yeah,
I did like that. Actually,
Art of Noise fan. And then the real interesting one. 2 of my favourite bands, 2 of their members got together and did one song together.
Oh, it's Fish and Tony Banks, is it?
Yeah, look what, and they're wearing each other's t-shirts.
Oh yeah, they are, aren't they?
Yeah, this is from an album soundtrack that Tony did called Quicksilver, and he got there's a video to this now, but of course it didn't get on top of the pops. But yeah, that's an interesting one to have, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'll show you records later.
I like Fish era Marillion. I haven't really paid him a lot of attention since then, to be honest.
Yeah, I know 2 songs, which is what's it, Kaylee and what was the other one?
Well, Lavender.
Lavenders. Yeah.
Yeah, they're all right.
They're
all right.
Ian will put the deep cuts, I bet.
Yeah, I do like all Marillion. I'm a Marillion fan.
Yeah, I knew you were.
Yeah, a huge Marillion fan. And you will find this out in the next few weeks when we go through the years.
Yes.
It'll be a bit overloaded with Marillion, I'm afraid. But
well, you like what you like, don't you?
Yeah.
Yes.
On
Ranking the Obscure on it's live stream every Thursday at 8:00 UK time. So I want to give that a nice plug for you while I think about it here. Fantastic stream. Not just saying that because I've been a part of it a few times now. Even when I'm just there watching in the chat, it's a great bunch of guys, all very knowledgeable and passionate about music from all sorts of eras. And it's just a great way to spend 2 hours on a Thursday evening, as far as I'm concerned. And Jason, you were watching this past week, weren't you?
Yeah, that was very good. I do enjoy it. It's nice to see what people have got. And you've got that sort of nostalgia aspect of it. So thinking, oh, yes, I remember that song. Or someone will say something. You may not remember it initially. And then someone will say, oh, they did so-and-so and something. And suddenly trigger off the old synapses and... you'll get it. You'll suddenly realise what it was on about. Yeah,
it's a bit like good. Richard yesterday. He couldn't remember Magic Fly by Space.
I do. That's what I know as well. I didn't know everything on that, but I knew Magic Fly. Yeah.
Yeah, I brought that when it came out. I thought it was a bit different for 1979.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, a little bit sort of ahead of its time in a way.
Yeah, it was disco electronic version, wasn't it? Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I wonder how many people. When I did take it off the top, people don't know that song. But if they used to listen to the Friday Rock Show with Tommy Vance, they'd know it straight away.
Oh, is that the theme to that? In that case, yes, I do. I will know it. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I could have done another 20 or 30 instrumentals.
Yeah, because there's been plenty. There's been a lot of iconic instrumentals. I mean, I was expecting Apache to unless someone did mention that and I missed it.
No, I did Wonderful Land. I mean,
Yes, I know the Shadows were mentioned, weren't they?
Yeah, but the thing with that sort of all them 60s ones, it's what I was brought up on. You know, having a dad that played guitar.
I like was it the Incredible Bongo Band's version of Apache?
Yes.
Very, very good. Very good.
Yes. So I've been brought up on a lot of 60s instrumental music.
Yeah.
I mean, and Sandy Nelson, Let There Be Drums. It's all sort of...
Yeah.
I've got a version of Apache by an act called Man Ray, and it's basically Peter Hook, with his familiar bass, and someone else, like one of his friends. I can't remember who that was. That's my favourite version of Apache.
Yeah, that's a good tune.
Yeah.
I've even got a version of FBI by Status Quo.
Oh, blimey! Didn't know they did that.
It's on an obscure little thing that I picked up.
Yeah,
it's not a very good copy of it, but it is FBI.
Mm.
And it's got Brian May on it as well.
Oh, cool.
Oh, right, okay.
Huh.
Right. Well, we had a nice little deviation there. I'm glad we did, because we're able to just to bring Ian in, and then he showed us some interesting collaborations there. Perhaps that would have been a better title for the show tonight: collaborations rather than side projects. But anything like that, where
midway between the two. Yeah.
I haven't got many to actually just show vinyl wise. Because a lot of mine I've had on CD, which I had to get rid of, and they're on sort of my iPod now, and you can't really show iPods. It looks a bit
not live, not to any good success anyway. No. But no, I loved seeing the vinyl that you did show in. I was talking about electronic. I mean, I've not made any notes or anything. I was just going to basically say, they've released 3 albums. The first one I absolutely love, self-titled. The second one, which came in '96, Raise the Pressure. That, for years, my favourite out of the two, Electronic and Raise the Pressure, did chop and change. Whereas now I think Raise the Pressure is always my second favourite. But it's still brilliant, and you can certainly hear the Kraftwerk influence on it, with Karl Bartos being heavily involved. I think probably the one thing people complain about in relation to electronic is when they do electronic music, because some of their tracks are very guitar heavy, which is obviously the Johnny Marr influence, and then all the tracks are very kind of dancey, electronic, almost house music, a lot of the stuff. And a lot of people say, well, I only like the guitarist, I only like the stuff that you can hear Johnny Marr's guitar on. But I think the electronic project proved that Johnny Marr, he wasn't just limited in his vision, really. The Smiths always had that kind of, jangly guitar sound, didn't they? And and I think him being so involved and invested with Bernard in electronic probably surprised a few people, and it probably offended like a few really hardcore Smiths fans, probably. But I like the Smiths, I like them a lot, but I do like a good, piece of electronica, of synthesized music. I'm unashamedly a synth fan, a synth pop fan. But the third album and the final one that Electronic have released so far, Twisted Tenderness, which came out in 1999, it's my least favourite. There's some good tracks on it, but overall, a lot of the stuff on there I can take or leave. And it is more, ironically enough, after saying all that album, Twisted Tenderness, is more pure guitar almost. There's one, maybe two more dancey tracks on it, but the rest they do sound, and it's almost a little too generic indie guitar for me by that point. In '99 when they released Twisted Tenderness. But yeah, when we decided that we're going to talk about spin-offs and collaborations, side projects and what have you, electronic was always going to be my first choice to talk about, because because of the New Order connection, essentially. Ian, I don't know if you're familiar with much from electronic or.
Well, I mean, I like. Obviously, I'm a big fan of Jean-Michel Jarre.
Yeah.
And Tangerine Dream. And I love Vangelis. I love the sound of the keyboard. And the synths. So I always give something for I like. I'm not just. I mean, okay. At heart, I'm a headbanger.
Yeah.
Always will be.
Yeah.
But I did have some hair once. That was a long time.
Same, mate.
I like all sorts of music. Growing up in a house where music was more important than the telly. I love 60s. I love 50s. I love rockabilly. I got into the Smiths and all that later on in my life. And I've always liked New Order. The first New Order song I heard was actually Blue Monday, and I loved it. That really, wow, this is good. And I love, what else do I like in the electronic side of things? Well, there's not.
I mean, there's probably loads that you as soon as you go away, it's like, oh yeah, there's that. That always happens to me. It's like I can never remember to mention the ones that I really want to mention. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I listen. If I hear something with a good beat, I'll like it. I mean, I've got soft. There's one modern sort of record that I've got, I think, and that's Power. I've got the Power. I love that.
Snap!
I think that's a great intro. It's quirky and it grabs your attention.
Yeah, I got that album on Picture Disc recently. I don't know if you saw.
Yes, you did, didn't you? Yeah,
I did. Yeah. In fact, I've got their first 2 albums now. I'm waiting for because I think they only ever released 3. Snap. I'm waiting for the third one to get reissued now, and then I've completed my Snap collection, which I never expected to.
You showed it on. You showed Yellow on Thursday night.
Yes, yeah, Yellow. Yes,
now, I come across Yellow by Nuns on the Run.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, was that
The Race?
Oh yeah.
I just absolutely thought that was brilliant. And my ex had a greatest hits of Yellow, which I sneakily did a copy and put on my thing. So I've got the greatest. It's a great album. I love putting that on. It's because it's a bit different for me,
Yeah, I love Yellow. I think they just interest me. I love their aesthetic as well as their sound. I like their music videos and just that kind of European Playboy look to them, and they're into like the Latin rhythms and things like that. Bossa Nova, and they've collaborated with what's his name from the Associates, who's I'm ashamed that I've forgotten his name. Is it Billy McKenzie? That's it. Yeah, Billy McKenzie. He's written and recorded with Yellow. Well, he prior to his death, obviously, and of course they also did the Rhythm Divine with Shirley Bassey on vocals. I mean, who doesn't like Shirley Bassey?
Yeah, you remember
that's a collaboration, I suppose. Yellow and Shirley Bassey, Yellow and Billy McKenzie's a collaboration.
I guess. Yeah, when KLF worked with Tammy Wynette.
Yeah.
Oh, that's my favourite single.
That might be a good thing for a future discussion. Actually, obscure pairings.
Well, yeah, we've done a few tonight, I think.
Yeah, but sort of
Tony Banks and Yellow and Billy Bassey, certainly. Yeah, Ian, I don't know if you caught much of Jason's first pick, but he was talking about a Terrorvision spin-off. Now, I'm assuming, and I might be assuming completely incorrectly, but you being a kind of headbanger, that you will have had at least some dealings with Terrorvision. Have you got any thoughts to make about them?
Yeah, very nice.
is that the diplomatic answer? Because we've got a big television super fan.
Yeah. I think
they're okay. I don't dismiss them. I think they made some good records.
Yeah. They probably. I mean, your era of heavy metal is obviously going to be like a generation prior to the likes of Terror.
Yeah, I mean, when I was 12, 13, it was when the new wave of British heavy metal was coming out.
Yeah.
So I was there for the birth of that phase of heavy rock metal. That's what I was brought up.
You're talking of stuff like Def Leppard and all the rest of it.
Def Leppard, Tigers of Pantang, them sort of bands and 10 and bands like that, all these real obscure ones. It's amazing when I talk to. There's a pub I go into in Northampton called the King Billy, and it's been a rock pub all its life. And when you get talking to some of the younger ones, and they are so they can't wish they'd been born when I was born to really appreciate when the Saxons and the UFOs were all coming in.
I've got a lot
really
of
appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a lot of that sort of stuff anyway. I've got to listen to it again. I've got some Rainbow stuff. I've got a couple of Led Zeppelin albums. I was a little bit too young at the time when Led Zeppelin first came out to really appreciate them. But now I know who they are more. I have done for quite a long time. But you know what I mean. It's sort of something you discover later on in life, and you go back and you go, yeah, they were very, very good.
Well, obviously, I remember when Presence and In Through the Outdoor came out. That was the first new stuff I'd heard of. I remember them albums coming out, but I went backwards. But I remember John Bonham passing away.
Yeah.
Because it was not long round about the same time as Bon Scott. I mean, I'd been listening to AC/DC for ages. I mean, Quo. I've been listening to Quo practically all my life, and that was all. I mean, AC/DC was to do with my mate's dad. He got me into AC/DC as far back as '77. So. But I was talking of weird. Remember when Yes, after Tomato, when it all sort of went down the pan a little bit, they rediscovered themselves, and you had what was left of Yes and the Buggles.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah,
and the album Drama. That is basically what was left of Yes and the Buggles, because Jeffrey Downs.
Yeah, that's right.
He was in the Buggles. People forget that Jeff Downs actually was in the Buggles. More associated with Asia and Yes these days, but he's played on some interesting stuff.
Yeah, because we had the Buggles in our synth pop tier list.
Indeed,
a month or so back. So
that was good fun. That
whether you could have called them strictly synth pop across the board is maybe a bit debatable, especially with Jeff Downs, at least his prior history in progressive rock. Yeah, but no one could deny Video Killed the Radio Star. It's a synth pop track, isn't it?
It's synth pop.
Yeah.
It's one of the best
for me.
You see, there was another song that I liked from that era. Thomas Dolby. She Blinded Me with Science.
Oh yeah,
that's a good song.
I've heard that in years. Yeah.
And my Hyperactive.
Did you want to show something about Thomas Dolby on one of your videos, Jason?
Sorry, I was looking at chat. Sorry, I was trying to. Yeah, say again.
He can't multitask, but
no, I can't.
No, I was asking. I seem to recall you showing something about Thomas Dolby on one of your videos, not a million years ago, Jace. Or perhaps I'm thinking something else.
No, I think the closest I've got, I haven't got any Thomas Dolby.
Oh well, it wasn't you then. I apologise.
Yeah, Ian Shorey, I did.
Well. Yeah, but I wouldn't class him anywhere near
No, exactly. No, I don't think so.
Why bring Ian Shorey up then?
Sorry, I'm just trying to remember who I might have done that you might have
no, don't worry about this. It's fine. It's all right. You know, give your brain a chance.
Yeah, sorry.
Stevie says he saw Thomas Dolby live. Pretty decent. Because some of these electronic guys, I never imagined that they'd do a lot of stuff live. But to be fair, Erasure, they seem to tour every time a new album comes out. Pet Shop Boys do loads more touring now than they did when they started. So I'm just looking at what Jason's saying to Stevie. Obviously knows when Ian's on, because Stevie's a regular guest on Ian's weekly stream, Jason. But moving back to the spin-off. So Jason, I'm sure you've made some notes. Are you going to give us a bit of a monologue on the second act you've chosen?
Yeah, okay. I'll just bring up my screen in a minute. Okay, yeah. So okay, I've got to find the album as well. Oh, yeah, I've got that to hand. So, where are we? I've got to look at my notes again. Bear with me a moment. If it'll scroll. So, yeah. So, this next one's a bit strange because I don't know if it is a spin-off and it's not, because it's the same guys, but they're working with different people. I'll show you anyway. Right, I don't know if you're just bring my camera back up a minute so I can see what I'm looking at. Make sure you're looking at the same thing I am. So yeah, there we go. This is plug 1 and plug 2 presents First Serve. Now this is, I'll just go back to my notes again. So this is basically 2 French producers known. They were
hold the album up again for us for a bit, Jason. Have a look at it for a little longer.
Sorry.
Yeah, is that the right side?
Sorry. There we go. Thank you. Right. Yeah. Sorry, I can show you the whole thing actually. So you see inside as well. So you've got the 4 people involved, right? So you've got basically it's Dave and Poss on where are we? On this side. Hang on. Right, Dave and Poss, and then you've got the 2 producers there on the other side. Okay, so the 2 producers are so French guys, DJ Chocolate and Khaled, and not the Khaled that a lot of people know. It's a different guy entirely. Again, bring up my notes a minute. And those 2, again, not very much you can find out about them, but they started off doing turntables at the DMC Championships. I don't know if anybody remembers what the DMC Championships are.
I do remember.
Yeah, it's basically it's basically a bunch of DJs going on, showing off their skills, doing mixing, scratching, sampling, all the rest of it. You know, there's even a little bit of, what should we say, acrobatics and juggling involved with how they do stuff. It's very much a performance. Anyway, I digress. So yeah, they basically 2 wanted to do a music project of a hip hop album, right? And they needed a couple of DJs MCs to do it. So they basically got Dave and Poss in to do it, and they play a couple of characters called Jacob Poplife and the Dean D. Witter. So, as I say, they're characters because this is a concept album.
All right.
Anybody knows what a concept album is? It's basically a story goes all the way through. So, you had that on the 7th Son of the 7th Son. That was, by Iron Maiden. That was a concept album. To give an example, they basically tell a story, and this one is basically telling how they get started, the rise to fame, right? All the trials and tribulations, all the drugs and women and all the rest of it, the ups and the downs, them splitting up and then eventually getting back together again. So that's the basic gist of the album. And it's a bit tongue in cheek. It's kind of funny. I mean, you've got Dave effectively playing his own mum in it, or they're in their basement, and they're making their music, and she's having a go at them, saying, "Oh, you got this college degree and all the rest of it. You should be getting proper jobs." Bloody, bloody, blah. All that sort of thing. So, if anybody remembers 3 Feet High and Rising, they kind of did that element in there with a little skit. So it's that sort of thing again, but mixed in with the proper tunes. But yeah, the basic gist of it is that De La Soul were interested in doing it because a lot of people know they worked with Damon Albarn or Albarn. I can never remember how to pronounce his name. Anyway, Gorillaz. Yeah, they worked with Gorillaz, and they wanted to do another collaboration. So yeah, it's basically the two of them with these producers coming up with a different style of sound. It's quite a retro feel to it because there's a lot of sort of disco, there's funk beats, there's 60s R&B, there's all sort of things. You've got a lot of the what we call the late 80s, early 90s hip hop influences in there as well. Excuse me. Things like the Jungle Brothers, Jurassic 5, who I'm not really familiar with them, but Jurassic 5 and Farside, who again I know of them, but I've never really listened to them. But people familiar with them will get what I mean by that, right? So really that's the basic gist of it. It's a fun album. It was a one-off project. But yeah, it's something a little bit different, and yeah, you've still got the De La Soul bit in there. And the funny thing about it is the characters are actually inspired to make hip hop by their real life counterparts, which
right?
Kind of a nice twist on it, right? And it's almost in a way, it's almost done like a little bit like a film because they've also got the end credits, the very last song, where they're sort of saying, who did what, who produced what, who did what voice and what character, etc. And all the people that were involved, which is quite a nice little touch. Normally you just get that on the on the sleeve notes and that's it. But yeah, that's it really for that. Not massive amount to talk about. I don't think it did particularly well, but if you're a fan of De La Soul, I think you'd probably enjoy it quite a lot. It's definitely different.
Just remind us, what year was it released again, Jason?
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm trying to remember what year it was released because I can't remember. Bear with me a minute. I'm going to double check because I thought I'd written it down and I haven't.
Was it just the one album again?
Yeah, it was literally just one thing. It was a one-off thing. Where are we? Trying to find it if the page will load for me. Right. Where are we? Sorry, I've got a problem with my internet's not being very quick at the moment.
I will point out at this point, it probably says the year on the CD, but Jason's
I can't read it. So you know what my site's like, mate. It's miles too small for me to read. Yeah, 2012. 2012.
Oh, it's 2012. I didn't realize it was as late as that. Oh, a little over a decade ago.
Yeah, just a little bit before De La Soul did their 8th album, actually. Yeah, I did have it written down and I'd forgotten.
How many albums have De La Soul done altogether?
They've done about... Oh, crikey, if that was their 8th one, they've probably done about between 12 and 14 albums.
12 or 14?
Are you quite a
lot. An appreciator of De La Soul at all, Ian?
Not really, but I've never listened to much of the stuff, but when people mention these bands, I'm so curious about it. I'll go down the rabbit hole. I'm terrible for that, going down the rabbit hole.
Ian does loads of, ranking the obscure. That's his channel name. He ranks everything, and you do take like viewer requests for stuff, don't you? So I know if it's an act who've got quite an extensive discography, then it'd take you quite some time to get around to listening to everything. But Jason, if you ever wanted Ian to rank anything like De La Soul or anything else, just get in touch with him and
Yeah,
and see what Ian's ranking would be.
Hey, I mean, I'm like Ian for the most part. I started off with bands like Adam and the Ants and stuff like that. You know, obviously all the kids' albums and all that. And yeah, I was very much sort of into the more pop stuff to begin with. And then people got me into AC/DC and Iron Maiden, and I've basically been a rock fan ever since. So for me to like hip hop, it had to be a bit different. And I always felt De La Soul were that different.
I'm just highlighting this question from Simon here. I'm assuming you're referring to De La Soul still here, Simon. But Jason, you might be able to field this. He's asking, didn't they have copyright issues?
Yes,
which went on for years until recently.
The main one, I believe it was. I think the track was Transmitting Live from Mars, and it featured the Turtles. She Taught Me. Do people remember that song? I'd have thought Ian would.
I remember it.
I know. Who are heavy about it? There was
if it's the one the Lightning Seeds covered.
Yeah, so I was just going to say,
you showed me.
Yeah, you showed me. That was it. Yeah, you showed me.
Weirdly, that's the only other Lightning Seed single besides all the versions of Three Lions that ever got in the top 10.
Yes. Yeah. No. It was that tune. There was a big hoo-ha about that because back then they just went and used it. You know, nowadays you've got to go through everybody to get samples verified and all this and that and that. And the thing was, De La Soul would just take stuff from anything and just, you know, oh, that works with that. You know, let's try this. Oh yeah, that goes right, and just sort of it was a hot pot, if you like, of ideas, and they just lug stuff in. Right, mix it around and go, oh yeah, that works, and then put some rhymes and some beats with it, and you know they're very experimental, really, compared to a lot of hip hop bands, because you know everyone back then was using James Brown, and you know Parliament and Funkadelic, all that sort of stuff to their tunes, and you know De La Soul have used everything from, I think they've used Kate Bush to, you know, the Beatles to the Stones and all sorts of stuff in their thing. They even used Wonderful Christmas Time by Paul McCartney, which is a really weird thing to use. Right. Yeah. So, anyway, if you don't mind, I'll just do my 3 tunes.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I forgot about that. Yeah, your 3 favourite. Remind me the name of the act again. I forgot that.
Yeah, so it's first serve of the act, right? That's the overall name for all 4 together. As I say, it's
I'm gonna type it out in the chat, and then hopefully I won't forget. Then
first serve. Do you want me to show you the cover again?
We can do, yeah.
Yep. Right. So there we are. First serve.
Right. So that's the album 2012. First serve.
2012.
Okay.
Yeah. So you might want to put the whole title. It might make it a little easier to find it. Right, because it is a little bit difficult. It's on Discogs and stuff like that. So you should, and I think Amazon Music have even got it up there as well. So you should be able to find some information about it. But yeah, getting back to the tracks. So where are we? Yeah, so the ones I like is the Pushing Aside, Pushing Along. That was the first one. There Must Be the Music, right, which is a really nice funky dance track. And then you've got the Book of Life, which is just, I think, them reflecting on where they'd been and where they were going, and you know, this was getting up to the point of their getting back together. So yeah, it's a nice little tale, right? A bit of fun, bit tongue in cheek, little bit of comedy, right? But and like I said, quite sort of retro-y in its style, but that's not a bad thing. If you know, you're going back to sort of the origins of hip hop. So yeah, I think a lot of people enjoy it, and especially if you're if you even remotely like De La Soul, then you probably get a bit of a kick out of it. Actually, saying that's just reminded me. There's one of the songs, and they start off with "Can I kick it? Yes, you can." Right, which a lot of people know from A Tribe Called Quest. Mm-hmm. Who they actually collaborated with a lot of times with the Native Tongue.
the genre for acts like De La Soul and Tribe Called Quest, I was always led to believe it was known as, at least sort of unofficially, as conscious hip hop. That's. I mean, I'm going by my old friend Wikipedia again, but that's like conscious hip hop. Yeah, I know it's a bit of a sort of clunky name, isn't it? Really.
Yeah, it's not what I've come across myself.
Yeah, no, look up. It has got its own entry on Wikipedia.
Yeah, okay. I'll have to look that up,
and you'll see the Tribe Called Quest, De La Soul. I think even PM Dawn.
They followed a bit. They followed a bit later, but no, the main ones for the Native Tongue collective, I should say, was, as I say, De La Soul, Jungle Brothers, Tribe Called Quest, Moni Love, and Queen Latifah, and then you had other. I think there was Black Sheep, and not Outcast.
Arrested Development, perhaps would they be?
They sort of followed on from that. They weren't directly involved.
Yeah.
They sort of followed on from that. It was definitely that sort of, there's more to life than, drug partaking and drive-by shootings and all that.
Yeah, I think that's why someone somewhere conjured up this conscious term. Is like, it was like it's totally different from like your other standard hip hop, which is all about violence and misogyny and drugs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which is the nicer side of things, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, De La Soul, I think it was Stakes is High. It's quite a serious album because they go into some quite dark areas, but they've always sort of returned to the sort of like feel good music. I find, it really depends on what area, what era of De La Soul you're talking about. As I say, they've done a hell of a lot of stuff, and it covers everything. But they're not just we hate the police and we're going to do that, and we're going to kill people and all that nonsense. There's a lot more to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I have heard of De La Soul. I've always found it ambient.
Yeah.
Some of it's very chilled and laid back. Yeah.
And thought has gone into the structure.
Exactly, yeah, definitely.
It's not just a load of sounds bunged in and let's see what happens. Someone's had the thought to...
Yeah. They definitely...
program their drums. There's programming drum machines and programming drum machines.
Yeah.
Unless they're done properly.
They're Mace, Plug 3, the Maceo, he's... very, very sort of clever in what he does. I mean, they all partake in the overall sound, but obviously he's the guys on the turntables and all the rest of it, and he's constructing the basics and what have you. And they've always been very inventive and experimental, and not afraid to try different things. And I think a lot of their stuff just comes naturally for them, especially now. They've been doing it for so long. As a lot of people know, unfortunately, was it last year before Dave passed away?
It doesn't seem long ago, does it?
No, I think it was last year.
2 years, I think. Yeah.
But they're fun. They're just different from standard hip hop. And I think that's what I picked up on them. And I've always liked bands that aren't afraid to experiment and try different sounds. So I think that's what did it for me with them. And as I say, with First Serve, again, it's still them, but they've got the different personas, and they're just trying something different. So that's why I like it.
A band that's got an example of that is Talk. They started out as this poppy synthy band.
Yeah, very good band.
By the time the Colours of Spring come round, they were this ambient jazz fusion sound.
Yeah. I have got to get one of their albums, actually, because they're very good.
I know, because I love the obvious singles, Life's What You Make It and It's My Life, but everyone knows and everyone likes them. I get the feeling if I did a did a deep dive into Talk, I could become quite a fan, really.
Well, I picked up the cars mainly because of Drive, and was it My Best Friend's Girl, and there was another one as well. I can't remember what it's called now. But anyway, there was like 3 songs I knew, and I got it's not Heartbreak Hotel, it's something Heart Hotel or something like that, Motel. I can't remember. Anyway, I picked that up, and that was very good. So if Talk have carried on the vein with the singles throughout the albums, it'd definitely be worth getting one. So yeah,
I like the old later Talk more now than the first, Although I do like It's My Life and that.
But... Yeah, I mean they're the ones I'm familiar with because it's I've really only heard the big singles.
Yeah,
It's My Life. If I think both that and Life What You Make It was they were reissued or perhaps even remixed slightly in the early 90s. So that's when I heard them. Yeah. Right, so thank you for talking to us about First Serve and by proxy De La Soul, Jace. We learned some interesting stuff there. Does anyone want to see who I've picked for my second favourite side project? No, I'm going to show you anyway. It's some act who can do, in my opinion, a better cover of Always on My Mind than Pet Shop Boys. And I've been a Pet Shop Boys super fan since I was, knee high pretty much. But I do like the Emigrate featuring Till Lindemann cover even more than the Pet Shop Boys one now, weirdly enough. But yeah, my second choice is Emigrate, who are, of course, a satellite, a spin-off or side project from Rammstein. They were formed, and I checked this on Wikipedia, my best friend Wikipedia earlier on. They were formed in 2005 by Richard Z. Krusper, the guitarist for Rammstein, and he's the main vocalist in Emigrate. But weirdly, he's provided backing vocals, I'm sure, but he's never done lead vocals on any Rammstein album or song, and they've been going for many years now. So they formed in 2005 after when Rammstein first went on a bit of a break, a bit of a hiatus, and then their first album, their self-titled debut, Emigrate, came out. I think it was 2007. Now, Emigrate for me are a band who, at the start, I got the album and I listened to it because I was such a big Rammstein fan, and I thought it's all a bit kind of generic, sort of American sounding hard rock. This for me, the first album. There's some good tracks on it. Don't get me wrong; it's not awful, but I think Emigrate, as they've kind of grown and they've established themselves as not just a spin-off, but like a decent band in their own right. Yeah. I think that they've improved with every album, really. And I did do a ranking of the Rammstein spin-offs quite recently, actually. Only went up on the channel a couple of weeks or so back. And I think all the Emigrate albums, sort of like each one that came after, is higher up, if you see what I mean. And then at number one in that ranking was their most recent album, The Persistence of Memory, which was 2021. But yeah, I mean, I've not got an awful lot to say about them. I think it's a fairly fluid lineup, apart from Richard Z. Krusper. I believe Joe Letts, who was a member of Combi Christ, who are like an industrial kind of act, He was, perhaps not anymore, but he was a member. But they've collaborated with some interesting people. So we go back to kind of, Ian's talk of collaborations again. I think it was on the second album, Silence So Long. There's collaborations with the American artist Peaches and also Lemmy from Motorhead as well.
Oh, right, yeah, I didn't know that.
And then I think the third album, The Persistence of Memory, that might be the one that's got the first collaboration with Till Lindemann on it, but it's also got a duet with Marilyn Manson. And then the fourth album,
interesting.
Yeah, the fourth album, which is my favourite of theirs, is The Persistence of Memory. That, of course, has, I think, Till Lindemann guests on a couple of tracks on that, but my favourite track on that, because it's just a classic song and anyone who covers it gets a big thumbs up in my book, is their cover of Always on My Mind. But I could sit here and just say how much I love that. And I'll always love the Pet Shop Boys version as well. But Emigrate featuring Till Lindemann, yeah, fantastic. Emigrate, I'd say certainly from maybe I'd say all their albums are worth investigating, but I don't think they start getting really good till maybe their third album, till maybe I said it about a minute ago and I've forgotten what it's called now, but it's easy to go and look it up. But certainly The Persistent Memory, their most recent one, I think that's an absolute banger. It's almost up there with the best of Rammstein for me, that album. So certainly that's a big recommendation for me. Ian, I watched
that video. I watched your video because I'm a big fan of Rammstein.
Yeah.
And I thought, I'd heard of Emigrate, but I didn't quite know which member. I knew there was it was one of the guys from Rammstein, and I thought, and I'm having a listen. Put it this way, and then you're right. The third album is when all of a sudden they didn't know what they wanted to really do.
Exactly.
The first two albums, and album 3 all clicked into place.
Yeah.
Exactly. Which is the old-fashioned way of making music.
Yeah.
These record companies that want bands to have instant hits, it doesn't happen like that.
Yeah. Because
you've got to let bands evolve.
I was reading about recently a pretty successful act, but they almost got dropped after. Oh, that's who it was. It's completely different from anything we've been talking about. It was Girls Aloud. That was it. Yeah, their first album, which I got the reissue of last year, I think it was. Apparently, it didn't match the sales predictions Polydor Records made, and even though they'd had millions of viewers from winning Pop Idol or whatever Pop Stars or whatever it was called in the early 2000s, they were threatened with the axe after, and the first album sold well, but not, it didn't, because like, I don't know, Pop Idol or Pop Stars got 20 million viewers. They expected there'd be 20 million album sales, and that's not realistic, is it? Let's be honest.
Another band like that nearly got the chop was Rush.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Then they did 2112. And
that's. I mean, I'm no expert. That's one of their more famous into.
Yeah, and they did what they wanted. They were fed up of being. They just went shit or bust. Really, it was either going to finish them or make them big, and it made them big. Yeah, going about like spin-offs. I mean, there's a weird band anyway. Steve Hillage.
Oh yeah.
Gong. All them sort of thing. And his partner, Mairead Gaudet, they formed a hip-hop prog fusion thing called System 7. It's a dance thing, but with guitars in it. They've done a few collaborations. They've done it with a Japanese synth band called Rovo. And then the spin-off of System 7 is Mirror 7. Now, Mirror 7 is the same thing, but it's more ambient music. It's more ambient. It's not so much dancey. It's more proggy with a bit of dance.
Yeah.
See, System 7 is dance with a bit of prog. And I prefer the Mirror System albums to the System 7 because some of them I just couldn't get on with.
Oh no, I think I'd be interested to check them out actually.
System 7. If you like balancing music,
I'll have to,
electronic sort of thing, you might like them. You might like them.
Yeah. I mean, I'll listen to a lot. Almost anything. I mean, I was going to say no jazz, but to be honest, going back to Yellow, I mean they've got quite a bit of jazz in.
Well, there's a bit of jazz in there. I can assure you.
But I just found Yellow. I found them charming. Really, they just evoke like certain images for me and certain feelings. Yeah. So I can forgive them for leaning into jazz a bit, really, even though jazz normally bores the arse off me.
Yeah. Well, even Art of Noise have got a bit of jazz influence in there.
Yeah, I suppose they have. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So, that was Emigrate. Spin off from Rammstein. Played you brief clips of 4 tracks spanning, I think, all 4 of their albums there. And go and check them out if you're unfamiliar. A different proposition to Rammstein, unless Till Lindemann guessed in with them, and then they are pretty similar to Rammstein. But Richard Kruspe, as a lead vocalist, is good. I think he's got better, and I think Emigrate as a band have got better, and they're not like a one-off thing either, like some of these spin-offs seem to be. So that I dare say they'll have a 5th album out at some point over the coming years, while Rammstein take another break at some point, no doubt. So, Jason, do you want to give us a bit of a talk on your 3rd and final pick today?
Yeah, there was actually one thing I forgot to mention just briefly before I get into that.
Okay.
I think I told you that Skin on her from Skunk Anansi, when she did her solo stuff, she did a version of Getting Away With It.
I
don't know if you've listened to that yet.
No, I don't remember you even telling me, mate.
No, yeah.
Oh,
yeah. It might be worth a listen. You might enjoy it. It's different, but it's still got a similar feel. Perhaps a little bit more harder edge to it. Right? It's not as heavy as Skunk, but you might like it. Anyway, let's get on with this last one. So I think a lot of people are going to know this band. I'll show you, right? If I bring up the first album, so it is Audio Slave.
Yeah.
Right, kind of a spin-off band because the 2 bands that are sort of a mix of them did get back together again for a while. It's Chris Cornell from Soundgarden. Right, bless his soul.
So
right?
I'll hold it up again for a little bit longer, just so I can see it.
Oh, sorry, yeah. Hang on, bear with me. So Audio Slave by Audio Slave.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first album. I've got the other ones. I'll show you them in a bit.
Okay.
All right. So anyway, that was the debut, and it's Chris Cornell from Soundgarden. And you've got the Rage Against the Machine. It's basically Rage Against the Machine without Zach in it. So you've got Tom Morello on guitar, Tim Comfort on bass, and Brad Wilk on drums. So it's like a super group, yeah. And they got, when did they get together? 2001 is when they got together. Because I remember seeing Rage in 95, and then they sort of seemed like they were going through the motions a little bit. You could tell they were getting close to thinking about splitting even back then. But anyway, it's basically those 2 bands, and I had a little look how people describe them because I was a little unsure. I suppose 90s alternative rock would be the thing, but they've got that sort of slightly 70s feel to them as well. And then you got bits of 60s funk and soul and all that in there. people that know Rage Against the Machine know that they very much prided themselves on getting all their sounds from their instruments. So there's no sampling, there's no drum machines, there's no turntables, anything like that. This is all done purely with instruments. So basically they've done a similar thing, but they've put more emphasis on Chris's vocals and obviously Tom's guitar work. I don't know if anyone's ever seen Tom's guitars, but he's got things like tap plates and he's got like a switch, like almost like you get on a turntable, but put into the guitar, so we can get all these weird noises and sounds out of them. Anyway, so the first album, it definitely sounds like a meshing of the two bands. You know, you can hear, certainly with Chris's voice, you've still got that Soundgarden element, and you know, with the instrumentation is very much as like almost like Rage Against the Machine 2.0, if that makes sense. But then when they got to the second album, they kind of developed and morphed into their own sounds, their own band. So they were, I think they were, you know, feeling they were more, because people knew now what they were trying to do. They could sort of play around a little bit more with their sound and change the style, if you like. I personally, a lot of people say, "Oh, you can't say that," right? But I actually prefer Audio Slave to Rage, and the reason being is that Rage were very, very much politically based, right? That's the main thing they seem to focus on was political stuff, very sort of dark subject matters. Sometimes even stuff that I think some people would have sort of cringed about talking about. But you know, they weren't afraid to do that, and they didn't make any apologies for doing so. But no, Audio Slave, you know, I think they did do political stuff, but it was life as a whole. So you know, basically they did anything, and you know, anybody knows Chris knows that he was very, very, very good songwriter. Right, whether you liked Soundgarden, whether you didn't, right, he was able to touch on quite sort of deep things, without getting on sort of like on the emo tip of it. And then I also think that Tom's guitars, they allowed Chris to do more than he would have perhaps normally done with Soundgarden. Yeah, I mean they weren't together very long. I think it was 6 years, but in that time they did pretty well. They had three. I think it was 3 Grammy nominees. I mean, not that Grammys seem to mean anything these days, but I think back then they did a bit more.
Yeah.
Than they do now. But yeah, they did 3 albums. I'll quickly show you those actually. Okay. Bear with me. We'll just get back to the camera. So, Audio Slave, self-titled album. Right, you had Out of Exile, I believe that one's called. Out of Exile was the second one.
Yeah.
And then you've got Revelations, which was the third one, and that was the last one they did.
Right.
They split up. It was in 2007, I think I said. They split up mainly because of musical differences. I think they just wanted to do their own thing. They sort of felt they'd done most of what they could do together, and wanted to try other stuff. Chris went on and did a bunch of solo albums. I think briefly in 2010, Soundgarden did get back together for a little bit. I don't know if they recorded anything new.
Oh, did they? Oh, right. I didn't know.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they did get back together for a little bit. Rage, as you know, they had that big campaign that everyone did to get "Killing in the Name of" to Christmas #1, and that kind of influenced them into doing a reunion tour for a bit. But I don't think they ever did anything new. Tom's gone off and did his own acoustic stuff, so Night Watchman, and they're now together with Chuck D from Public Enemy, and I can never remember his name. Is it Be Real from Cypress Hill? I think. Anyway, it's with them two, and they're now they're now called Prophets of Rage. But again, it's different stuff. But Tom's done loads of stuff. But no, this was the main one I wanted to focus on because I think Audio Slave are brilliant. But yeah, they've only together for 6 years. But I think myself that they could have. All right, I know rock's perhaps not as popular as it used to be. Certainly not with the kids. But I think they could have quite easily released these albums today, and they would have still done pretty well. Maybe not as well, but I think they still could have done well. It still sounds, to me anyway, still sounds pretty fresh. So yeah, really, that's all I wanted to say about them. Very, very good band. I never got to see them live, unfortunately. I saw Rage once, as I said, but yeah, never got to see them. And I would like to see Tom Morello in some form again because he's probably my favourite guitarist. I really, really like what he does. But anyway, I tried picking tracks, and it's so difficult with the
when you love a band's output. Generally, to pick 3 of your favourites can be tricky.
Yeah, very much so. So what I've done is, anyway, I've picked one off of each album. I thought that was the best thing to do.
Yeah.
So from Audio Slave, the first one I picked was Like a Stone. I don't know what all the songs are about. Unfortunately, I couldn't find out enough information at the time. But Like a Stone's very much sounds like a guy that's waiting for death. He's waiting, just for everything that he's experienced and everything to come to an end. I think he's trying to make peace with himself and all the rest of it. So dark, but still a nice song, if you will. Then from I've got to get these around the right way because I got muddled up when I was making my notes. So from Out of Exile, it's Your Time Has Come, which I think basically is about basically someone's finally going to get what they deserve after everything they've done to other people. Yeah. And then the last one, which I said I couldn't really find anything out about, was from Revelations, was Original Fire, which is a really, really strong song. I mean, there's a lot of really, really good tunes on all 3 albums. I'd still probably say that my favourite is the first one. I think because it was an exciting project. It was, at the time then it was new. And it's like, Soundgarden and the Mage getting together. Crikey, what's that going to be about? And it got you excited. Then when they did the next one, it was like, yeah, still damn good, right? And then the third one, it's sort of, I think it fizzled off a little bit. Again, some very good songs on there, but it didn't feel quite the same. I think maybe they were struggling for ideas a little bit. That's just my take on it. I could be completely wrong, of course. And knowing me, I probably am. But, that's what I took from it. But yeah, still, I was sitting there and listening to them yesterday and today. It was just like, mate, fantastic. Love it.
Still sounds as exciting as the first day you heard them. Yeah.
Exactly.
What more can you ask for from an act, really?
That
the music still excites you after all these years.
Indeed.
Are you familiar with Audio Slave, Ian?
I've heard of them, but I haven't heard much of their stuff. But
same here, to be honest.
Yeah, so it's just a case of having a listen, really, isn't it?
If you, I think if you like sort of, if you like funk rock, definitely
I like funk rock. I like Chili Peppers and Extreme.
I don't know if you remember Living Colour.
Yeah, I've seen Living Colour. They're fantastic.
I saw them live. Very good band. But yeah, there's sort of that sort of feel. And if you never, Did you like Rage? Did you like Rage Against the Machine?
I like some of their stuff, yeah. So it sounds like I'll probably like them then.
Yeah, I think you probably would. It's certainly the first album. Definitely give that a listen. The big song that I think most people know is I can never remember how you pronounce it. Cochise, I think it's called.
Oh yeah,
I've heard that. Yeah, that's a pretty good.
Yeah, I think even that was.
That was the big. That was quite a big hit
for them, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think Like a Stone was a single as well. But yeah, just very sort of. It does. It makes you want to mosh, and I wish that I'd seen them live together, because I would have been back then. You know, sort of like in my what
did they tour in the UK at all?
I believe they did. I believe they did. Yes, I'm pretty sure they did.
Super groups. I mean, electronic. Going back to them, just to deviate very briefly, but the only time they toured was when they were a support act in America on Depeche Mode's Violator tour, and they didn't play live. No, I tell a lie. I think they had one kind of gig at the Hacienda as well after that, but from about 91, 92 onwards, they never played live. They were purely a studio act, but Audio Slave did tour regular, and they did tour in the UK. Did they?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, I think it was only the once, but I'm pretty sure they did it. They might even have played a few festivals. I honestly can't remember. Can I just inject a minute though? Pumping Vinyl. Just saying hello. I don't know the person's name.
It's
William.
William, that's it. I only met him myself a couple of days ago. Yeah, William. Yeah, thanks for coming in, by the way, William. Lovely to see you.
Yeah, so I was just, trying to sort of keep an eye on chat and everything as well.
So, William.
No, Audio Slave, probably, out of the three I've covered tonight, probably my favourite.
Yeah.
Very much like First Serve, but probably my favourite.
I mean, it probably helps that they had a more sustained career because they released more than one album for starters.
Exactly.
I mean, that's always a bonus. I mean, and I think out of all three of my acts, like two of them are kind of don't really exist anymore outside of the back catalogue, and it's only really Emigrate who I think they're going to carry on and definitely do some more stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But definitely my favourite. Certainly right now, anyway. Again, it may change in a few weeks. I don't know.
Well, fair enough. So, Audio Slave. Just to touch upon him, I can't really, but all I can say is that the late Chris Cornell, I'm sure, is sadly missed still by many people. Yourself included, Jason, being a big fan of Audio Slave and Soundgarden. I did enjoy his Bond theme, and
yes, good tune.
You Know My Name. Not my very favourite Bond theme, but it is the theme for my very favourite Bond film, Casino Royale.
Yes, I just trying to remember which one it was.
Ian already knows that that's my favourite.
Probably one of the Battle of the New movies. It was it had some. The only two of the later Bond have got some go is Chris Cornell's and Jack White and Alicia Keys.
I love Jack White and Alicia Keys. I kind of, when I did my Bond themes ranking, I kind of wish I'd put that a bit higher.
Yeah,
but apparently, I was watching Martin Harris's. He did a Bond themes ranking. Probably at least 2 years ago, maybe more. And I was watching that recently, and he put Jack White and Alicia Keys higher than I did, and he said, "This is one that most Bond fans tend to hate." And I'm like, "Really? I wouldn't have. I
love it. I think it's
I think it's great, and I don't particularly like Jack White and the White Stripes generally. And Alicia Keys, I appreciate her voice, and appreciate her talent, but she's not someone I appreciate to. But together, I think that it works so well, doesn't it?
It's one of them odd combinations, isn't it?
I was just going to say that.
There we go. Yeah, we're back to the combos again. Yeah.
What a weird one to come up with.
Yeah. But yeah, Chris Cornell, I did want to make mention of his Bond theme because really that's what I know him best for that, and I suppose Black Hole Sun.
I did.
Was a big sort of MTV / radio hit in the 1990s, but I wasn't really a grunge guy. I have to say, I never have been.
Yeah,
but,
I did pick up his next solo album after Audio Slave. It's okay. It's a bit weird. It's different for him. They did a rather different version of Billie Jean, of all things, to cover.
Oh.
So, you sort of imagine him singing that.
Weezer covered Billie Jean on their Teal album, which was all covers. And the problem I have with that album, and you know me, I'm a big Weezer fan. Really like them and everything they do generally. And I do like the Teal album, the covers album. But for the most part, the songs sound too similar to the originals. They don't really do anything quite unique or different with them for a lot of them. Not all of them, but and Billie Jean was one, I think. Well, they could have changed that a bit and done something a bit more unusual with it, and they didn't for me. But that's not to say it wasn't a decent attempt, because it was.
Yeah. But no, I get what you're saying. You want the one to sort of like change it up a little bit, even change the style.
William asks if we would be offended if he mimics the British accent when he goes live tomorrow. Yeah, I'd be thoroughly offended. Yeah.
I'd be as bad as Dick Van Dyke's in Mary Poppins. You're all right.
God bless you, Mary Poppins.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you can do it better than Dick Van Dyke, then that's going to be a start. You couldn't mimic it much worse, really, could you?
The man with the most unfortunate name in acting history.
Well, yeah. Okay. He's still going. I don't know if he does much acting now, but he's still alive, isn't he, Dick Van Dyke?
I believe so.
I think he's 99.
Wow. Yeah, that's. And he must have only. I mean, I'm assuming he is retired. He must be at that. But I'm assuming, because like Diagnosis Murder feels like a relatively recent show to me. Like it didn't end. Like
it is. It's quite old now.
Like what? Maybe within the last 20 years it ended. So he must have been pushing 80 when that finished, if not over.
That was good. I liked him.
I think the last thing he was that. Mary Poppins 2, wasn't it? Which
he made a cameo in that.
He would have been well into his late 90s when that came out. That film's only a couple of years or so old, isn't it?
I believe so. Yeah.
Mary Poppins.
Yeah.
Williams
not very good though. I turned it off halfway through.
I didn't watch it all. I thought it was a bit.
My mother and my children have seen it. I'm not interested in Disney particularly, and I think they found it watchable, but it wasn't a patch on the original by the sound of it. We've got through some topics tonight, haven't we? We've even got Mary Poppins and Dick Van Dyke. Yeah.
I know you got your last one, mate, I believe.
Yes, I have. One more from me to go, and let's have a little look.
No matter what you say, no matter what I do, it all comes back to you. Sense of reason, think it's true. Why did you have to believe them? No sense of reason, do I have to do? There's no one else. To the ones above, know that once you don't give up. You can fly.
So if I was going to do one New Order spin-off or side project with electronic, I've got to really do another one. So the other two, pure New Order spin-off, pure New Order satellite, because it's got two members of New Order in it. Gillian Gilbert there on vocals, although sometimes other people would guest on vocals, as with the last track, You Can Fly there, had a guest vocalist on it, Denise Williams, I think it was.
All right,
I believe she passed away a couple of years ago, I think, didn't she?
Did she?
Yes, yeah, she's worked with quite a few sort of like indie and Manchester kind of area acts. And of course, Stephen Morris, also of New Order, New Order's drummer and sometime keyboardist as well. And they were a couple for many years before they even got married in what I think the early 2000s. Only released 2 albums. The other 2 in You was their first album that came out in 1993, and then Super Highways was their second and to date final studio album that came out in 1999. There's a couple of tracks off each of those. So Gillian and Stephen first started spinning off from New Order. It was in 1991. And they were commissioned to do a track to commemorate and to be played at the reopening of the Hacienda, because the Hacienda had closed down temporarily for a refit and to gain better security, because this was in the era where gang warfare in Manchester was on the rise, and they were getting a lot of gangsters and drug dealers going into the Hacienda and surrounding Manchester nightlife. So they just closed it down for a few months or whatever it was. And Stephen and Gillian as the other 2, which the name itself is kind of like a slight kind of dig towards Barney and Hooky, because they established their side projects, Electronic and Revenge, by that point. So they were like, oh, well, we're just the other 2 that got forgotten about when they were off doing what they wanted. Oh, that's a good name. We'll call ourselves the other 2. So they did a track called Loved It for the reopening of the Hacienda, and that would feature 2 years later on their debut album, The Other 2 and You. And also they released the single Tasty Fish in 1991.
Yes.
That was the first little clip in that video there.
Isn't that getting a reissue at
It is. That's getting a reissue on, I think it's some sort of blue vinyl or something like that for Record Store Day this year. Yes, that is near the top of my wants list. In fact, it probably is at the top. But I want it, put it that way. So Tasty Fish came out in 91 on Factory. By the time the album came out 2 years later, Factory was no more. So New Order and the other 2 were on London Records by that point. Tasty Fish is interesting. I mean, it's a bit of a boring anecdote. In fact, it's barely an anecdote, really, but it always amuses me that there's no mention. In fact, this would have been a good one for that video you and Richard did a few weeks ago, Ian, where you were talking about songs that didn't mention the title in them. Because there's no mention of Tasty Fish, and it did come out as a single as well. It got to 41, I think. So it just missed the top 40 in 91. But they actually called it Tasty Fish just because there was a chip shop, a fish and chip shop that used to drive past in Stockport that was called Tasty Fish, or it just had Tasty Fish in big letters on the sign. But, we'll just call a track that, for no other reason, but just because they could, really.
For ideas,
If you want to hear a song that's about fish and about delicious fish, then that isn't the one to go for. I don't know if I can recommend any.
Sounds more like that bloke that did the £1 fish thing, isn't it?
Well, yeah, all right.
Sorry, mate.
So they recorded those tracks, and then they were working on the album, but I think the album had to be put off a bit because they got back together again around 92, 93 to record Republic, and then the other 2 in You was kind of delayed, and then that come out towards the end of 93. The album didn't do very well. I don't even know if it even charted, to be honest. I don't think London Records put any kind of promotion behind it. They were just interested in New Order, the 4 of New Order as New Order, and they weren't interested in any side projects, which makes sense, really, because Electronic, when they went to do Raise the Pressure in 96, they went over to Parlophone. So they obviously knew London Records weren't interested in him. So they switched label for that. So yeah, Other Two and You, great album. Really goes under the radar because, as I say, it didn't really chart, or if it did, it was very, very, very low, like in the 100 and somethings. The second album, Superhighways, was even less successful, but a couple of nice, well, I say a couple of singles. One of those clips that I showed you, it was intended to be released as a single, but it got cancelled. The other one did come out as a single, the title track, Superhighways, I believe it was. Yes, it was, because I did have the single at the time as well as the album. I'll just have a look at Stevie's comment because he's a big New Order and Factory fan, so he'll have something interesting to say. Yeah, the other two also created music for the UK TV programme Reportage, although this is credited to New Order and will be adopted into their 1990 song World in Motion. Exactly, yeah. If you, I did a video. I keep saying that. Oh, I did a video, and it's not, it's relevant. I did a video. It was, in fact, I think it was a follow-up to a previous one. It was like 20 or 25 more of my favourite TV themes, and I used the Reportage theme. And yeah, if you listen to it, it's like, well, this is just an instrumental version of World in Motion. So World in Motion, everyone always says, oh, that's the greatest football-related song ever recorded, unless you're in the Three Lions camp. But the thing is, it was a lazy effort because it had already been a TV theme pretty much, and they didn't have to really do much except Bernard and Keith Allen, I think it was, wrote some lyrics. Hooky kind of turned up but didn't really do anything on it.
Well, then they got John Barnes.
Oh yeah, Keith Allen, and I think he was the one who wrote the John Barnes rap. Yeah. World in Motion. I love it. I love World in Motion, and it brings back memories of Italia '90 and just sort of a happy period of my life. But it was a bit of a half-arsed effort. I mean, New Order, they weren't. I mean, you can say this about many periods throughout New Order's history, but they weren't getting on with each other at that point. You know, they've fallen out, and they would fall out again many times over the years. Yes. But, thank you for bringing that up, Stevie. I'm glad you mentioned that. It was, and that was mainly a Steve and Gillian effort, but prior to them labelling themselves the other two. But one thing I will say about the other two in closing, really, is what an underrated vocalist I think Gillian Gilbert is. You barely hear her on any New Order stuff. You hear her, I think she does backing vocals on one or two tracks on Movement, and Stevie, you'll be able to back me up on that if I'm getting it right or wrong. And also she did sort of like vocals, but they weren't word vocals. They were kind of like, vocal effects on the last track on Republic called Avalanche in '93. But apart from that, the New Order never utilised her as a vocalist. It was always mostly Bernard, and Hooky did one or two bits as well. Funnily enough, I've got a New Order bootleg from 1980 when they'd literally, it was like mere weeks after Ian Curtis had killed himself, and they were just becoming New Order, and they were trying out who was going to be the new vocalist. And I've got a gig on CD of an early New Order 1980 show with Stephen Morris trying his hand at a couple. He sounded bloody awful. Well, yeah, I can see why you didn't get the job as the new singer, Stephen. Bloody hell. So I think they eliminated him pretty quickly, and then it was down to either Bernard or Hooky as to be the regular singer, and then it was Bernard, but the Hooky, of course, had Dreams Never End. But Gillian Gilbert, I just want to make mention, as well as being a really talented keyboardist, I think she's a really underrated and a really good sounding singer as well. But I suppose with New Order, their sound overall, it wouldn't have suited too many female vocals throughout the years. Maybe they could have adapted so that they would have seemed more, appropriate within the settings of the times, maybe. Stevie, no, I mean, I lost a lot of respect for Hooky, and I have brought that up before as well. his book he called Gillian as useful as a three-legged stool. He was just so. I mean, it was like bordering on sexism, really, the way he was speaking about Gillian in his book. I mean, I know there's a lot of people who love Hooky. They think New Order aren't the same band since he left, but I think he can be an absolute prick when he comes out with stuff like that. Stevie likes her a lot. Well, I'm glad you're in the pro Gillian camp along with me, Stevie. That makes it. And Ian is as well. So yeah, that makes me love you even more, Stevie, than I already did. if that was possible, and Ian too, of course.
Yeah, I just don't think Hooky used it properly.
No.
And I think doing some more backing vocals, even if it was more, would have added a little bit more depth to some of the songs.
Yeah,
I think she would have been a better asset.
Yeah,
because if she had sang a song fully, it would have been a hit.
Yeah, Movement, like you could hear her doing backing vocals on at least one track. It might be two. I want to say Doubt's even here, but I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to say that's definite because I might be misremembering the title, but it's definitely one or two tracks on Movement. You can hear her quite clearly doing backing vocals, but then from Power, Corruption and Lies onwards, it was just all Bernard. So even though Movement is my least favourite New Order album, when it comes to vocals, they were quite experimental. They were still kind of sort of trying different stuff out, really. And then Gillian, she wouldn't provide any more vocals on a New Order song or New Order track until Avalanche in 1993, which was like 12 years later.
I was just going to ask, what was the other two's biggest hit? Because I'm sure I remember seeing them on Top of the Pops or something.
No, it wouldn't have been Top of the Pops because Tasty Fish was their highest charting single, and that got to 41.
I definitely remember it.
And Selfish. I always forget the chart position of Selfish, but I think it did slightly worse. It might have been like lower 40s, maybe, but I can't remember. I'd have to look that one up.
Yeah. Perhaps it was the chart show then. I mean, I didn't really follow New Order, but I knew of the other two for certain.
If you think back, the RTV chart show did show a lot of stuff that ended up selling nothing. So
yeah, true.
So it could have quite easily have been on there. Yeah. William Pumping Vinyl says he thinks New Order became a better band than Joy Division. They became even better musicians. That is exactly my feeling. I like Joy Division. I love Joy Division. I feel I sort of need to love Joy Division because I'm such a big New Order fan. But it'll always be New Order at the very top for me.
Well, I found their chart entries, Jimmy.
All right.
Yeah. Where are we? November 91, Tasty Fish reached number 41. And in November 93, Selfish got to number 46. That's the only entry.
Right. 46. Yeah.
Yeah.
The book of hit singles. That used to be something. When I was younger, particularly, if I was just bored and nothing on TV, I'd pick up my Guinness hit singles and just flick through it. I could kill an hour or more just aimlessly searching through, just looking at nothing particular.
What I do, this is absolutely perfect.
Yeah, I mean, it will be. With all your, because you do like birthday top tens and things like that, don't you? I had a birthday top 10 from Ian last year. Jason, if you want to give Ian your birthday, I'm sure he'll do a birthday top 10 for you.
Yeah, I'd have to figure out. I mean, is that from any year?
Jason, you don't need to figure
it from your birth. What I do it from the day you were born, and I don't just do your music. I go who you share your birthday with, events, and then if you come around the next year, I do the US.
Got you.
Yeah,
I think
if you do mine again, then it'll be US for me this year, won't it?
US for you this year, and then the following time we're going to do your 5th birthdays.
We'll
go up in 5.
I think I did something many years ago, before I really sort of got into the VC and all the rest of it. I did something similar. I believe, where it was like the tune on the day you were born and when you went to college, your 18th birthday, so on and so forth.
You know what that was? That was that thread I started, that music milestones thread.
Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was my one attempt at kind of like I didn't even tag it as vinyl community or anything because back then I didn't do an awful lot of music videos anyway. I just fancied doing this music milestones thread where I wanted people to show an album or a single or whatever from the year they were born, the year they first went to school, the year they turned 21, I think. The year
something like that, yeah.
There was another one, the year he started work or got married or something like that.
Yes.
It's quite similar. A few of my friends got involved, but it didn't really gain a lot of traction. But I enjoyed sort of setting it up, and I know you participated, Jason, and I know a couple of other friends did. But that was before I considered myself even adjacent to the VC, let alone sort of a small part of it that I am now.
Yeah, I've got quite a long list of birthdays now.
Yeah. Oh well, I'm looking forward to my next one. And mine always comes along with Nick's as well because we share a birthday. Nick, hogging my birthday, but this is a different year, so it's not like you have to do the same chart or anything. So.
No.
I've got a funny feeling that the number one album when I was born was Paranoid by Black Sabbath.
Well, you were 1970, so
that may be that's about right. Yeah.
Yeah.
October. Yeah, I'm sure. They don't make that. They don't make that Guinness Book anymore.
Well, if you just give Ian your birthday, then he'll do
put it in an email or anything. Don't have to give it on time. I'll do your birthday, easy peasy.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I've got not this week, the following week. I've got 2 on the same day.
Well, I think yours is it October? Yours, Jason.
Mine's October. Mine's October the 7th.
Well, there you go.
You're not far from me. I'm October 9th.
Yeah.
So I got
1970 is the year I was born. So
that's it. Brilliant. I'll write that down.
There you go. So
I'll forget.
Yep, that'll be a video just for you on your birthday. Come up.
Right, I shall.
Yeah. Well, it's a long way off, but
I keep meaning to sub to you, mate, but I keep forgetting.
That's all right.
Why don't you just say, "Oh yeah, I subbed to you," and then make sure you do it as soon as we finish. Like you didn't.
Yeah, no, I'll do that. I'll do that in a minute.
I shall pass that on to my wingman.
Ah, yes.
He does all your research.
Oh no, he just keeps all the records.
Ah, right, yeah, fair enough.
So I think anyway, I've got. Is it okay if I show a few more records?
Oh yeah, sure, yeah. It'd be a nice way to end if some more stuff from Ian. Yeah, go for it.
This is sort of a spin-off. This is an album done by Ian Gillan and Roger Glover. Now, this album came about. Ian Gillan had left Deep Purple, and in between he made some albums, and he'd got a contract with Virgin Records, and he rejoined Deep Purple, and they wanted another album from him. So he wanted a producer, so he took Roger Glover, and they did this album called Accidentally on Purpose. Now it's one of them just to get the contract out of the way. It's got rock songs on it, blues songs on it, and there's actually a track on here that appears in the Rain Man with the Dustin Hoffman.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah, it's called. Where is it? I'll find it. Lonely Avenue is a song that's on the soundtrack. It's on the radio in the car when they're going to Vegas. It's got all sorts of great stuff on here. A mixture of everything. It's even got a Caribbean calypso sort of thing and a bit electronic. And it's well produced, of course, because it's Roger Glover.
Yeah.
Another album, there's a spin, but remember when David Bowie went and sort of just become a geek?
Yeah. Tin Machine. Yes, yeah.
Tin Machine.
Yeah.
With what's his name? Reeves Gabriels, who's worked with Bowie on his solo stuff. Brilliant album.
I thought they were quite underrated, Tin Machine, actually.
Yeah. They're a very good band. Now, this is a weird combination. Mason and Fenn.
Is that Nick Mason? Is it?
That's Nick Mason from
Pink
Pink Floyd and Rick Fenn of 10cc. And
all right, okay.
Yeah, there's an album they made back in the 80s. Dave Gilmour's on here as well.
Oh, I didn't know that existed. That's a new one on me. That.
Yeah, it's a bit of a spin-off of the 10cc sound and Pink Floyd. It's pretty good. Now here's a really good one, and this is rare as you're going to get. Thing called the Blooded Sword. Now this is a thing that Midge Ure did.
All right, okay, yeah.
And Chris Cross and a poet
That's
called
interesting.
Maxwell Langdown. It's a lot spoken word poet, but the music's done by Midge and Chris. This
That's
came
unusual.
out
Yeah.
1983. This came out. It's a very rare album.
Sure.
Also, we got not a spin-off yet. It's only
Kind of,
Yeah, I know that one.
Yeah, I'm not a great fan of it because it was that time that Freddie sort of nearly split up Queen. It's what was done between the Works and A Kind of Magic. It's got some good tunes. That's when he was involved in going into German nightclubs and all the gay scene.
Yeah.
I like Mr. Bad Guy. And it's got I Was Born to Love You, which is a great song, great pop song.
Yeah.
Song. Good album. Now, here's another weird one. Now, this is one of them sort of collaborations and sort of spin-offs from a band called Colosseum 2 that came out of Colosseum.
I remember them.
It's Variations with Andrew Lloyd Webber.
Oh, I know. I've seen that album.
Yeah, it's really good.
In fact, I would say, I think I got a copy of that. Do you remember, Jimmy? We used to do that box thing with all the different records. We get mystery albums and stuff.
Yeah, the subscription box. Yeah.
I got a funny feeling I got that in that.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I certainly recognise it. Recognise it.
Yeah, it looks familiar to me, certainly.
A lot of people might go, what's that? But if you used to watch the South Bank show,
yeah,
the theme of the South Bank show is taken from this album.
Yeah.
That's where that's from.
That's from that. Exactly from that.
That was them.
Yeah, that was that. Basically,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'll consider this a Colosseum 2 album because I mean the people that play on it, you've got Don Airey, Rod Argent, John Heisman, John Mole, Gary Moore.
Gary Moore, yeah, legends,
all of them. Colosseum 2.
Yeah.
And when I was sort of getting ready to come on, you was talking about supergroups, and that.
Yeah.
There is one supergroup that people forget about, The Firm.
Oh.
Which was Jimmy Page.
Oh, that Firm.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I know. Yeah, we're thinking of the.
Thank God for that.
I was going to say, different one
Chris
entirely.
Slade, of course, played with AC/DC. After this, Manfred Mann's Earth Band. He's played with Uriah Heep. He's played with Steve Hackett, and Tony Franklin, who, quite frankly, has played with everybody.
Yeah.
He's a great bassist. They brought 2 albums out, and they are both brilliant, and I've got both of them.
Excellent.
I thought I'd just show them because you were talking about supergroups.
Yeah.
It's a proper supergroup.
Yep. Yeah. Fantastic.
Just on a side note, you said about Gary Moore. I don't know if people remember when Skunk Anansie split up in 2000 before they got back together again. Cass Lewis, the bass player, actually was on one of Gary Moore's last albums.
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
And he played.
I think it was the last album he ever did.
The last album. He also plays on the album that they brought out after he died. They'd found some tapes, and I think it was some of the same sessions.
Yeah. Any good? Worth getting?
God, yeah, I love Gary Moore.
You know, I'm being a complete skunk announcer. I'm trying to get everything that all the guys have gone off and done. So, yeah, I'm going to have to look out for those then.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, Gary Moore, I saw Gary Moore 3 or 4 times. I saw him as this rock, and I saw the blues. And I was at Brixton when he brought Albert Collins out.
Oh, right. Okay, yes. That was a blues musician, wasn't it?
Yeah, blues. Yeah. See, a great guitarist, 2 great guitars.
Yeah.
Very sad, very sadly missed. And of course, he was with Thin Lizzy and all that. So, yeah. I never got to see this band. A friend of mine went to see the Firm at the Hammersmith Odeon, and he said it was an amazing night.
Yeah.
I think that's sort of connections and spin-offs, isn't they?
Oh yeah, definitely, yeah. Super
Another
Group.
one that's just spring to mind. The Creatures, a spin-off of Susie and the Banshees, of course.
Yes.
Oh yes, indeed, I remember that for sure. Yeah, that was. It was in the Creatures. Remind me.
Susie Sue and Budgie.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was like no one else from any other famous-ish group, was there? It was like just those two splintering off, weren't it?
Yeah, they just
a bit like the other two, I suppose. In that,
respect. They just went and did their own thing.
Yeah.
I mean, Susie and the Banshees hadn't sort of split up, but they were not making records.
Yeah,
I think that's right. And they went off and made 3 or 4 albums and a couple of EPs.
They've had quite a big change up over the years, anyway, haven't they? Susie and the Banshees, because I got a funny feeling that Marco Perono from Adam and the Ants fame was in Susie and the Banshees for a while.
Yes, he did.
Yeah,
he lives around here now. Apparently,
Marco.
Yeah, Marco from Adam and the Ants. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
He goes in Tallbird. Bit of a shout out to my local record shop. He goes in Tallbird Records quite regular, according to the owner. Yeah, which I had no idea about. But then again, I don't know much about much really. But yeah. He's not from round here. It's just weird that I think sort of in semi-retirement he chooses in North Derbyshire really. But okay,
I saw about 3 copies of Dirt White's Wears White Socks today. But
that's a great album. I love that album.
It's a great album, but I'm not paying 50, 60 quid when I know.
No, I got it when it came. Well, when I say it came out, I think it was the first reissue. My favourite song of all time is Car Trouble. I adore that song.
Yeah, it's the only one I haven't got. I will get it, but I'm not paying 50, 60 quid for it.
No, it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money.
Yeah, it's like today I spent 20 quid today and I got 3 for a tenner.
Yes, yeah.
I picked up a Susie and the Banshees album today.
Oh,
I'll bring that cover album Through the Looking Glass.
Oh, they did a covers album, did they?
Yeah, it's a brilliant.
I'll have to check that out. I do, even despite what I said about Weezer's earlier, I do kind of like covers albums generally. I mean, Erasure did a good one, Other People's Songs, about 20 odd years ago. And one of my weirdest covers albums is one that I bought really recently. It was actually from Vanillo, which is Jason's local records.
It is indeed.
And it was by a group, and I can't remember the name now, but they covered the entire album of Oasis's What's the Story, Morning Glory. But they did it, they're like a kind of dream pop, sort of female-led act. Oh, what's the name of the group? I can't think, but yeah, that was an interesting... But that was... And, of course, another cover album that's pretty much a cover of a whole album rather than different songs is Lieback's version of Let It Be. But weirdly and annoyingly for me, they don't cover the title track.
That's weird.
They don't cover Let It Be, which annoys me because obviously, I like that song.
Yeah.
But,
it's a good one to get. All the songs are brilliant.
I will investigate that actually. Yeah.
If you want something a bit different, you've probably heard of them. Check out Hayseed Dixie or whatever it's called.
Yes.
Hayseed
Dixie. It's a country and western covers band of AC/DC.
Yeah.
But they do other stuff as well. But
I've got
It's
a Quo
quite fun.
album done by Bob Young, and it's called In Quo Country.
Yeah.
And he does country versions of Quo songs.
There are some weird stuff out there. I've even heard sort of 1940s swing versions of Skunk Anansie, believe it or not, which is really weird.
Well,
It works.
They've got a band out. They're not. Don't have albums, but they've got on YouTube, and they're called Pomplamoose or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's just a couple, and they use all these kiddie type things. They do some Lady Gaga songs. What else are they doing? Hanging on the Telephone by Blondie.
Sorry,
It's just weird and wonderful.
Who are these called, sorry?
Pomplamoose, I think, or Pomplamoose.
Pomplamoose. Okay, I'll look them up. It sounds interesting.
Not ringing a bell.
No, I only discovered them by, when you're flicking through YouTube.
Yeah.
And because you've watched something, that sort of thing. Who are these?
Yeah.
Oh, they're good.
Well, I like finding obscure cover versions, especially if it's bands, especially if it's bands you wouldn't expect to be covered.
Yeah, I like an unusual cover version. Yeah.
Yeah, that's Matt Richard and my next video. We've done our favourite cover songs. We're now going to pick out them. Oh dear, why did you bother with that?
your least favourites, or just
least favourites? Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that actually. When you announce it, yeah, that'll be looking forward to that. Is that every 2 weeks you do your
roughly every 2 weeks, and this will be video number 39 we've done. So
blimey, so you've been well with that.
Wow, yeah. Oh well, that'll be presumably that'll be just under 2 weeks yesterday. 2 weeks yesterday then.
Yeah, that's when the next one.
I mean, I've been a long time subscriber, so I won't miss it. It'll be on my feed. But just for anyone who might be watching, or Jason who might not be sure of your schedule yet. But the good thing about Ian, by the way, Jason, is his schedule is everywhere, because you do a little video that puts your schedule for the following week up on a. Do you put that up on a Friday? Is it, or a Thursday?
On a Friday, yeah. It goes up on a Friday, and then in the community, it's always. Each day at 8 o'clock in the morning, you get what you come in the day.
Yeah.
Mine's every day except Saturdays and Sundays and for special.
Ranking the Obscures like a proper TV channel. He's got like a proper schedule. With times.
I don't call it a TV show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never know. It might give me some inspiration because I've been trying to sort of think of other things to do. There's only so many collectibles, shall we say, that you can get before it starts to get a bit old. So, I cover
it all. To be quite honest, Jason.
It's nice to tackle other things,
And I like the when you talk about the year's movies and TV at the near the start of your Thursday night live streams as well, Ian. I always enjoy that bit.
Yeah.
Great stuff, and I'm sure you won't mind me giving him a bit of a plug, but I think Dale's planning something in the sitcom vein for his live stream.
Yes, that'll be interesting.
Which is up my street. I have to be a part of that, no matter what.
Yeah, I've got 5. I'm going to be showing top 5 sitcoms. Good night,
Stevie. That's coming in, mate.
Yeah, I've got 5. I'm not showing 3 because I couldn't leave the other 2.
If you're going to show 5, then I'm going to show 5.
Yeah, I don't think Simon will mind.
Yeah, look, Simon, I apologise in advance if I just start banging on and I take too long. Just cut me off at some point. But when it's TV comedy, I can really just sort of start and not stop. I've been wanting to do a series relating to particularly obscure sitcoms, because I've collected a lot. They sadly went bankrupt last year, which I thought was tragic. But Network DVD, they've released so many. They've released a lot of the big name stuff. You're On the Buses, Your Man About the House, but the amount of obscure stuff that didn't last beyond a series. They've released a load of that sort of stuff, mainly from ITV. And I collected it. Like, every time Network had a sale on, I'd just take a punt on some of these weird sitcoms. And I wanted to start doing a YouTube series about them, and I've just not got the format in my head down.
Yeah.
So
the last thing I got from Network was the Flashing Blade.
I've heard of that. Yes.
Yeah, it was a children's thingy that used to be on in the summer holidays. It was a French thing, dubbed into English. Brilliant. If you like the Three Musketeers,
that's just the sort of thing I was thinking of. Yes.
Yeah, it is a proper sort of Three Musketeers sort of thing. It's actually set when the Spanish-French War was going on the border.
But when Network went bust last year, we're gutted because obviously, for me, it was mainly about the obscure and the not so obscure ITV 70s and even in some cases 60s sitcoms. But yeah, they did a lot of classic children's stuff. Their reissues of The Prisoner, which is my favorite sort of fantasy sci-fi type series of all time. I've got the Blu-ray set of that they released for the 40th anniversary, and that's a magnificent reissue.
They
did a lot in classic British film as well, didn't they? I'm sure you probably picked up one or two of the British films that they released, Ian, because I know you're big on your war films and things like that, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm real big on comedy, and I'm a real huge fan of radio comedy.
Yeah,
I want to do something on that. A video on radio comedy.
It's
yeah, that'd be good.
So, going off topic a little bit. Has anybody done a video for really obscure kids' TV programs?
Well,
I think that'd be quite an interesting thing.
I mean, if you can research it to a degree, and you'd be interested in doing it, Jace, then I'd say go.
Yeah.
Even if someone had done something similar, I wouldn't let that stop you.
Yeah, because I just remember weird stuff like
Pipkins
and stuff like that. You see, that didn't last very long.
Yeah, I'm going to be doing a thing on TV I do a thing on a Tuesday called Retro Ranking, and it could be absolutely anything. And I'm putting together at the moment 10 of my favourite children's TV themes.
Oh, that'd be cool. Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah, I did one on Junior Choice. All them songs I used to play on Junior Choice.
I don't remember that really.
No,
I know of it, certainly. Yeah, I know what you're referring to. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think I've got one coming up. I think in this month. I did one on British TV cop themes.
Yeah.
I'm doing an American one.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it's a nice little sort of branch out. Really, it's not just about sort of music as in albums and artists. You're sort of splintering off into a bit more of a niche kind of avenue there, and it's good. It's interesting, and I like to try and do that myself when I can. Like I say, I wanted to do like a long running series about comedy. I mean, it mean me rewatching all these some of the sitcoms I picked up were pretty ropey in relation to writing and acting quality, shall we say? I've just not. It's the format. I can't figure the format out that I want to get down really. But maybe one day I'll have figured it out and I'll do something. Even maybe not a series, but maybe like some sort of one-off or occasional kind of series sort of thing.
Well, it's made me. God, I was just going to say it made me think I've still got quite a few of the kids albums, if you like, that I had when I was little. I think it was on the. I think it was on your channel. Someone showed the Campbell-Wick Green album.
Me, probably.
It was you, yeah. No, I've got that.
I remember.
Because I've got weird stuff like that, and I haven't played them in decades, but certainly, yeah, I could do that as a one-off. Actually, that's quite a good idea.
I don't know what happened to them, but I had, You remember the Thomas the Tank Engine stories?
Yes, yeah.
Oh,
I had the albums read by Johnny Morris.
All right.
yeah,
Oh, bless him, yeah.
And I don't know what happened to them. I really don't know what happened to them, but or believe it or not, I hunt round charity shops looking for things like that. I mean, I've got the soundtrack to Bambi. I actually put it, and I've got a Ken Dodd and the Diddy Men album, which I have.
I had I don't think I've still got it. I had the We Are the Diddy Men, and there was, I can't remember what the B-side was now, but I had a single.
Yeah, if you go on my channel and just put Ken, search thing Ken Dodd and the Diddy Men, I actually
it's quite possibly the same.
Yeah, it's got them in a farmyard, and it's got Old MacDonald on it, and a thing called Nickety Nackety Noo Noo Noo.
Oh, that's it, Nick Nacky Knack. That was it. That was the other side.
And where's the shit?
That was it. You just reminded me. Now that was the B side.
So that's what you get on my channel. You don't just get pop music and rock music.
Well, no, why not? Why not? It's music, isn't it?
Yeah. No, but it's whatever you're interested in, and
yeah.
I always say that, Jason. I always say to just like do what you're interested in.
No, it's just suddenly I need people to bounce ideas.
I mean, I'm not blowing smoke up people's backsides here, but if there, to get ideas and inspiration, I mean, Ian is a really good person to talk to.
Yeah, definitely.
Like just because he works full time so hard on his channel. He's got loads of different ideas. I'm sure there's ideas that Ian's planned out that haven't even started yet.
I'm working on something now. I'm not going to say too much about it, but it's going to be a little documentary, and it's got a lot of research, and there's lots I want to put into it. It's going to be like I'm going to do it in 3 parts, I think, because it's just going to be one of them things that will come out at Christmas it probably won't even be this Christmas, because it's going to take a lot of work. It's something I'm very, very passionate about. And
passion projects. What could be better, eh?
Yeah, it's going to take a lot to edit and put together.
I think those are good things, because it comes across in the video when you feel really strongly about something. That's what people want, really, I think.
Yeah. Excellent.
No, I'm going to say if you want something if you like Monty Python.
Oh, love it.
Yeah, watch I've got a video that's got my favourite songs done by Monty Python.
I don't know if you know, me and Jimmy have met John Cleese.
Yes, I know.
I did mention that to Ian. I think it was shortly before we actually did it, so it was some time ago, because that was back in early June, weren't it? So
yes, it was.
But because I'm a big fan of Terry Gilliam.
Yes.
I did my little homage. Have you watched that one, Jimmy, yourself yet? Me Monty Python.
No, I apologise. That's one I was meaning to get round to that, and it just slipped my mind. So I'm glad you've reminded me. To be honest,
I won't tell you about
anything Python related. I want to see. So I should have watched that when I first saw you mention it ages ago. To be honest,
yes, there is a homage to Terry Gilliam in that. Very much.
Excellent.
You'll see it when you see it. See, that's what one of the things I like to do is, we've spoken about this off backstage on mine and with Jim, but the creating of intros, and I just love doing them.
Yeah, me too.
I think when I did the sci-fi one, I got Thunderbird 3 going across the space. There's Enterprise. Just a Starship, and I did the UFO Martian, the thing that used to spin round and make that funny noise.
Yeah, I'll tell you what I'd love to do, but I just haven't got the ability, and also none of my mates want to appear on camera. But I'd love to do my own sort of like almost spoof music videos for records I like. There was a show, I cannot remember what it's called now. The show, and I can never find it. There was a show, I think it was back in the 80s, and what they did is they took songs that never had a music video and created their own for it. and I cannot for the life of me remember what it was called. It was really good. It went through all the, production and how they come up with the concept and all the rest of it, and then the end result. It might have even been Dave Lee Travis that.
I tell you, they did
introduced it.
it on the old Grey Whistle test when Queen's debut album come out.
Yeah,
They had this album turn up as just a blank label.
yeah.
And the track that was on it was Keep Yourself Alive. And they all thought it was great. So they just got a load of old black and white footage.
Yeah.
Made this great video. I mean, I've never ever seen it in full. I've seen clips, but it's just what I have seen of it is incredible. So I know where you're coming from, Jason. It's
It'd just be a fun thing to do because me and Jimmy, we've done the Top of the Pops Lost Tapes, where we've done our own lyrics and some
really daft and stupid stuff.
Bad singing.
Recorded ourselves like making up different lyrics for well-known songs, and I've gone out and found the Top of the Pops clips that correspond. That for me is just because I like editing so much. I just enjoyed getting everything together for them really. But
I think the best one I've seen of them that someone did a illustrated for Genesis Supper's Ready. The whole thing, and like walking across the sitting room, across the sitting room, I turn it and it's absolutely brilliant. The trouble is, you wouldn't be able to put it up on here because of the copyright. It'd probably get banned.
It can be a tricky one to navigate copyright because you never know what is and isn't acceptable a lot of the time. Just my advice is steer clear of too much Eurovision because I nearly got my channel taken down for live streaming the whole of Eurovision, which I knew was a daft idea really. But anyway, that was the Sodcast for back in almost a year ago, I suppose it would have been.
I did something on Eurovision last year, but I'm not going to do it this year. I am not going to sit through Eurovision again.
No, I'm not sure. Well, I'll watch some of it, but I don't think I want to do anything live like that. I mean, people have asked me to, Jason included, and as well as another friend. They said, "Oh, you're going to live stream." Or do we react?
We'd certainly have to.
Relating to Eurovision. We really liked the last year's when it was an absolute pain because of the lag and everything.
Yeah, copyright. Yeah, obviously we'd have to do it very differently, but we'll have to think about it. When is your?
I know you're quite keen to do something along those lines again. Whereas me, I think I just if I even watch it this year, which I don't know.
Yeah. I'm not a massive fan of it.
You can do it without copyrighting it.
It was
you can actually have it listening to it on your headphones.
Yeah.
And people you can say, okay, this is the German entry.
Yeah.
And you just sit there and go, oh, for God's sakes.
Right.
You can
Sorry, guys, I'm gonna bear with me for a minute. I'll just
what's going on. Just like Ray Moore used to do on the Beat Radio 2.
I just need to pop somewhere. Give me a second.
Okay.
Yeah, because Terry Wogan used to do it on the telly, and Ray Moore used to do it on the radio, and you could do it like that. Then you haven't got any copyright because you could be listening to it on your headphones.
Yeah,
and you just get a live reaction to the songs.
Yeah, I just thought I was being clever by getting the iPlayer up in a browser, and then. I knew it was risky when I had the idea, but it wasn't even that annoyed me. It's just that the whole because it was on StreamYard and there was lag and it crashed a couple of times. It wasn't worth the headache and the hassle really. And then to top it all off, at the end of the night, I got a threatening email saying I've got a strike on my channel. So you're living.
Just have your reaction. You don't have.
Yeah. People do. They call them watch parties, don't they? I see a lot of them knocking around on YouTube, and it's basically when you go on a watch party, you're just watching like one or two guys just sat there in silence, really. Whereas for me, I like to do a sort of vocal reaction, obviously I've had a lot of practice with the top of the pop stuff, but I like to sort of do a bit of commentary as well.
There's many ways to do that.
Yeah.
Would you
I see. I've got. The brain's going like this. There is a way of doing it that you can do it live without.
Would you be able to do it with audio only? Do you think you'd get away with that?
No, if you could do it with visual only.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think either works really for me personally.
So I got visions of Jimmy sat there and relaying the tunes to us by humming away like he does on Small.
No, I wouldn't expect anyone to that, and certainly not live. No. Anyway, we've been going for, believe it or not, well over 2.5 hours, and this
a lot longer than I expected.
Would be a relatively shorter edition, but we will be back in 2 weeks' time. I want to say, of course, thank you as always to Jason for co-hosting as he does every time. I want to give a massive thank you to Ian for joining us today. Ian, I hope you'll be able to join us again in the future.
It's been a pleasure. It's nice, as I said before. It's nice to just sit here and talk.
It is. Yeah, it's nice not to have to run one, and this is me running. So naturally, I'm knackered now, but it's still been a lot. It's still been a lot of fun. Hiya, James. You've come in a little bit late for any real chat to get going now, but thank you for coming in. Of course, anyone who might watch the replay of this, then I appreciate that as well. And people who want to leave comments and let us know. I'll edit the description and put a link to Ian's channel, which you should know by now, all of you anyway, but I'll still put a link to it at the top of the description in a little bit as well. But thank you, Ian. Thank you, Jason. We will be back. We will be back in 2 weeks' time. And I have planned for in 2 weeks, but I've not told
you. Let me know. Yeah, you got to let me know. Yeah.
So I need to talk to him about that. And we'll see you in a couple of weeks. Don't forget, Ian, every Thursday at 8 o'clock UK time. Also, Vinyl Dale is Friday at 8 o'clock UK time. Pumping Vinyl, who I've only just started subscribing to yesterday, I think it was, or the day before yesterday. I think his is tomorrow, but I can't remember what time, and he's in America. So, but I don't think it's particularly late. I don't think. I think it's relatively early for us Brits. So lots of great music-related live stuff going on, and we're every fortnight, so we'll be back in 2 weeks. Thank you, everybody, and we'll see you all in 2 weeks' time. Cheers. Bye-bye.